be here soon. I'll be here soon. I know I'm 2 minutes late, but don't worry, I'm here. Oh my gosh, I'm here. Hi, sorry. I took a little bit getting ready for the stream. I got caught up doing some busy work, some recycling, while watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was watching the cartoon. I never saw the cartoon before. I've seen tiny bits of clips and I'm barely aware of the meme about, you know, there's no war in Bossin. And we just had an episode where we talked about Bossin. It's under siege for 600 days. What? But hi, Sosimus, how you doing? Avatar: The Last Airbender. Also, I found out apparently it's got a live action. It is a bit difficult to get into the cartoon though. Those first few episodes are very... You know, they're not that good, the first few episodes. Not very good at building up the character relations very well. And very slow paced. They're not very slow paced, a lot of stuff happens, but you don't really feel like really that much went on in a 20-minute episode. Doesn't it help that like every episode is like a minute intro and previously on thing? But you know, these things are like that. Hi, French Puff.
Puff word of the day. Repeat bapite boo. I shall attack you with a heat-seeking shoe.
A heat-seeking shoe? Well, thankfully, I'm cold-blooded, so it won't get to me. Yeah. Like my parents the other day were like, I was outside because I'm having to walk my cats, and they're like, it's -3 out there, and I'm like, what? Feels like maybe 10 degrees, 7 degrees maybe. I mean, my ears are getting a bit cold. That's about it. Oh gosh, but here we go. Here we go. I've been getting work done off stream. Work done. And we've got a bunch you can hear for magazines, can't you? Big old love heart. Because, oh my gosh, yeah, it's the 14th, I forgot. Valentine's Day, yeah. It wasn't a shoe, it was a nugget. Never let them know your next move. The bad thing about that is that I don't know my next move either. It's true. It's true. Okay. Okay. We got these things. And includes the Goliath mining vehicle, the rock grinder. Human, they're not human, they're cupcake thingies. Cupcake thingies. Cupcake, see? If they were human thingies, you know, they'll be hurt by that. But they're cupcake thingies. You can't hurt the cupcake thingies. They're super tough. Big old car! Yeah, like, where's my knife? Where's my knife? We take the lid off the knife and we go... Cut it! Cut it! Cut it! Cut it! And see, it's fine. Cupcake hand. Or we stab with fish. Stab, stab, stab. See, cupcake hand, not human hand. Silly. Silliness. Oh no, there's a hole. There's a hole in my glove. Oh no. Ah, whatever. So can I identify as a sentient pastry today? Or is it only you who can do look? What glove? This glove? This one? Whoa. Ah. Yeah. Don't worry, you know, when I was doing the entire thing with a knife, I was using this end. The other blunt end. Dot, 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 dot. Doesn't hurt anything. Okay. But I've got which one isn't it first? Okay, 67. Let's read Combat Patrol 67. I mean, I'm Cupcake Conjurer. I'm Cupcake Conjurer in both name and profession. I don't identify as a sentient pastry. I'm just a cupcake. I'm just a cupcake. Okay, so we got the first half of another one of these neophyte hybrids. We already built one squad of these dudes. Hello, Dinosaur Soldier and Saxus and Corey Sapeda. How you doing? And Joshua Meshes here. Pink cupcakes with sugar and sprinkles. Yummy. No, don't eat them. They're friends, not food. Brr. I have very noisy bones. See, noisy bones. Cupcake bones. But you think it's like, this is super noisy. It's just my bones. I'm hollow. I'm hollow boned. Because underneath this there's like no support. Like underneath it here. All the way to like here, to here, to here. There's no support here. It's just a thin, bendable mat. Hello, even IT, how you doing, Genestealer? Christmas calendar, Genestealers, yeah! Friends are food, your logic doesn't work. Friends are not food! Cola is not friend, cola is food. Well, it's drink. But not friend. So we got magazine. Oh look, it's Acadian. It's Acadian turned brood warrior. Oh. Okay, this is how to build them. We already know how to build them. Insurrection. Bad word. Bad word. So, okay, let's turn this light off so it's not as reflective. There you go. Oh, fiction 15. Oh, F for fiction. Don't talk to me about Christmas. You'll summon Maria Carey. Who's Maria Carey? Who's she carrying? And I would walk 500 miles. And I would walk 500 more. Just to be the what? Wait, no, that's a different one. What's the one about carrying people? That's a falling down at someone's door. There's another song about carrying people. I can't remember that one. Coal is not food, it's fuel. It's fuel for my brain. Blah. All I want for Christmas is you. No, you're not allowed. I'm not a Christmassy thing. I'm not a Christmas present. No idea what you're talking about. It was made by, because she made a Christmas present that looks like me. What? Fuel for a big fish cannon. What big fish cannon? No, it's fuel for me. Cola is fuel for me. Okay, Sergeant Coulson. Sergeant Coulson! Isn't he from Avengers? Didn't he get killed by Loki? Except then he got his own spin-off show. Except then that spin-off show was made non-canon. Except then they brought the multiverse, so now it might be canon again. I have no idea. I don't do things like Christmas or Valentine's. I didn't even know it was Valentine's yesterday until people told me multiple times, and I forgot like every single time. I don't do these human ritual celebration things. Thank you on a big love. Hi, Bob Thinky. This is one of the reasons why I really struggled, you know, to do these like sorts of weird event things doing like other VTubers do, because human rituals mean very little to me. I don't understand them. Happy V-Day. Oh, Veterans Day. It's Veterans Day as well today. I'm joking. I know what you mean, Valentine's Day. Oh, gosh. Sergeant Coulson hauled herself to her feet. Oh, this must be his sister from the Avengers. By the way, I'm just being pedantic and not pedantic. Facetious. I'm being facetious today. Because that's just the mood I feel in for some reason. I'm very tired. I couldn't sleep last night. I had a cat with me. And she didn't want to let me sleep. No. And then my other cat kept scratching at my door. And then I had to keep waking up and like going over to her. And then she was like, you know what? I'm happy now. I'm happy. And then I'll go back to bed. And then she'll scratch at the door. And then she'll just walk off again. I'm like, what do you want? She just walks off, goes back to bed. And as soon as I go back to sleep, she's like scratching at my door again. It's like, why? No! So I'm in a facetious, contrary mood. I think my cat swore off on me just being all contrary. Apparently Christmas was the day some guy was born. Santa Claus! Christmas is the day Santa Claus was born, according to Futurama. And every single day you have to lock up your house or Santa Claus is going to blow it up. Yeah. Because he's evil. Robot Santa. And then he got Robot Satan. And if you want to play a musical instrument very well, he'll give you his hands. Yeah. I woke up today and my car was staring at me from the stairs. Your car! It got into the house! I'm joking, I know you mean your cat. Yeah, no, I'm on cat sitting duty at the moment, and my cats are very, very attention seeking. They need a lot of attention. I was like, oh, I can't sleep. I need sleep, but they won't let me. So I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon. I started watching that. In part because, you know, sometimes when you're playing stuff, they'll settle down. Like, oh, you're watching a TV show. I'm going to listen to it and settle down with you. And then you stop watching and they're like, oh, you stop watching. That means it's time to play. Time to play. I'm like, no, it's time to sleep. It's time to sleep. Oh. But we got Sergeant Coulson. Sergeant Coulson hauled herself to her feet in the wake of the explosion that had rocked the Imperial checkpoint moments before. Fiery ash, razor-sharp shrapnel, and the bodies of her comrades lay strewn around her. And staccato archer gunfire splintered rockcrete from the heavy panels of the Aegis defense line. Hi, Seradwin! And today is the day some guy named Valentine, who later gets canonized. Oh, yeah! It's a very weird day. I got glue. I got glue. 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 Sorry, I'm again distracted. So, do you ever see things like this and you want to read it all the way across and then all the way across, then all the way across? Like, do you know? Do not dead open inside. Do dead not open inside. Sergeant Coulson hard herself too, with a heavy click. Coulson slapped another her feet in the wake. I always have this thing of, the way you got these big letters, I kind of want to start every sentence with them. So it's like, Sergeant Coulson hard herself to sure feet in the wake of the explosion. The hat had rocked the Imperial's checkpoint. Checkpoint. Hi, Skaven Dan, how you doing? Did you know in Finland, Valentine's Day is a celebration of friendship, not couples? Oh! And Christmas in Japan is a celebration of couples. I don't understand these type of days. They're very confusing to me. And for some unknown human reason, we make this day all about a day all who enough. Yeah, I don't understand this. Christmas in Japan is a celebration of KFC. Yeah, I thought Valentine's Day was more a day about chocolate, based on anime and cartoons and stuff. I like giving chocolate to people, including your friends and family. Yeah. Rainwater Valentine's Day, giving Dubai chocolate-covered lababus. Lababus. What's a lababus? Lababus. Labu. Labradors! Don't cover Labradors in chocolate. No, and why would you go to Dubai for chocolate? Isn't like Switzerland like the big place for chocolate? Oh, what else is there? France does good chocolate. France owns Terry's chocolate. If you've never had a Terry's chocolate orange, amazing. Have one. Yeah. Dubai chocolate is gross. I never even knew Dubai chocolate was a thing. I know of what the Hershey chocolate is gross. Actually, chocolate in America. When I went to America, I hated chocolate there. Like, we had a chocolate fudge cake and it tasted absolutely awful, especially the chocolate sauce on it. It was like, oh gosh. I already have like a chocolate bar. It's like, ugh, why does it taste like vomit? It's weird. Don't like American chocolates. The French got acknowledged. Britain used to have some good chocolate companies, but a lot of them kind of died because they got bought out by these American brands like Mondelez or whatever, and they now absolutely suck. And they're funding deforestation and destruction of natural habitats, so it's like, no! We've only got things like Terry's chocolate, which is better, but that's now owned by a French company. Although for a while that was owned by Mondelez. And you got McVitie's, I guess. Sweden has chocolate Malibu, I think it's Swedish. There's also, is there a Dutch chocolate that's like really, really popular? It's something bar. It's like a person's name, not Terry. Tony! Is it Tony? Is it Tony's chocolate? I think that's a Dutch company. Yeah. What's so bad about a company being bought? No, it's not bad about the French. Terry's chocolate was bought by Mondelez at one point. And I think maybe Kraft owned it at one point. But currently it's owned by a French company, and that's much better than the American companies, because the American companies are really, really bad. Don't like, they're evil. They're evil. Literally, they're so bad that the Cadbury's, which got bought by Mondelez, it used to have a royal seal of approval, and they removed the royal seal of approval from it. Because they're like, no, your company does so many bad things. But the company that now owns you, we can't, you know, acknowledge you as a good company anymore. France has done loads of good things. I mean, Britain has a very long history with France. You have to remember that there's a lot of banter between France and Britain because we're like neighbours. We're not. It's like brotherly nations, I guess, kindred nations. Like our monarchies shared a lot of well, often the monarchs in charge of France were the same monarchs in charge of Britain, or they were related to one another. On top of this, you've got like the entire relation of Brittany to Britain, obviously, which is part of France. And then you got the Normans who conquered Britain, and they conquered a significant portion of France at one point. Before they were called the Normans, and then they became the Normans. You then have a very long history of back and forth wars. Large sections of France are ruled by British monarchs. Sections of Britain was ruled by French monarchs. And very, very long, very aggressive history with one another. And very competitive history with one another. And then you had the entire Napoleonic Wars, in which basically Britain was funding the entire resistance against Napoleon. And then you have the fact that France then like funded the entire American independence against Britain. So there's a lot of, you know, just general blood between Britain and France. And as a result, there's a lot of banter. Some of it's less banter, some of it is more banter. But I think most people nowadays, like in Britain, when they refer to France, they're like, it's just in a way of banter rather than anything else. And I think the same goes mostly for French people, and like they would talk about Britain badly. I remember Genestealer. Hi Vince. I remember Genestealer coach used to roll like 4 or above to trigger their ambush gimmick, but I think it got reworked. Probably the possibility of failing ambushes for the entire game is very short but never zero. I can't remember what the ambush mechanic is for the Genestealer cults. At the moment, Britain and France are kind of friends. I mean, we're allies. We share a lot of military and stuff with one another. We have a lot of trade with one another. But we're also competitors because, you know, we're two neighbouring close to superpowers. Not quite superpowers. I've already got Germany as well. Although France has more competition with Germany than Britain does because, you know, we're further away. There we go. Remember, chat, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's why Britain is getting ever so closer to France every single year. Actually, no, I think we're drifting away from Europe. I remember playing on Genestealer Cults v Chaos, and Genestealer Cults fell for ambush gimmick for 5 turns straight without a single one. What's the ambush? I think the ambush mechanic right now is if your unit dies, it goes into strategic reserves. Oh yeah, before we do this. Ooh, what's this? Oh, this is a really cool model. I want that. What? We've released a Valentine's model. If ours seems a touch confusing, great, we nailed for perfect. Oh, I want to watch this. Do we want to watch this? Let's see if we can get the music.
The elegance of nature The radiance of Jade. The beauty of Kyran. And 9 attacks that do D3 damage, as well as being a level 2 priest that can heal up to 3 wounds on 2 nearby friendly units. Grove Guardian by Alarier.
Oh, it's beautiful. Ah, it's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's amazing. I personally don't understand all the hate in Britain.
I personally don't understand all the hate on Britain. They literally invented English. They invented IT America. They don't speak weird. You.
IT. Yeah, we invented IT. Internet technologies definitely made by Britain. I mean, wasn't there like a British scientist in CERN who created like arguably the first version of the internet? Information technology. Oh, I kind of want this model. I mean, I don't play Age of Sigmar. I don't play Wood Elves. I want this model. Oh, it's so pretty. What could I convert this into? An Eldar thing? Oh, Avatar of Cain! Do you think this will be big enough to be an Avatar of Cain? Hi, Anthony, how you doing? So, where's the Stolen Law? It's here. But we just found out there's a perfume advert. Games Workshop released a perfume advert. Technically not a perfume, it's a model. We just watched it, if you go back a few seconds. Also, they've got a cool thing here. I do like Sylvaneth. I do like the big old bugs. I like one of my favourite Pokemon types. Also, have you seen all the new stuff? New and exclusive, all pre-orders. You got the real Space Raiders. Oh, they're £160, not £155. I swear it was £155 earlier. Oh, well, perhaps even this more disappointing with this thing. Thankfully, I got it for like 120. Oh, that's disappointing. We've upped the price by £5. £57 for Masters of Maelstrom. Pretty crazy, but I mean, you do get Herman, I guess. And they are cool models. You get what, 7 models in there. Also available while stocks last, Maelstrom, and I think they've already sold out of a limited edition. Yeah, they're sold out. Thankfully, I managed to get my hands on one. Yeah, they already immediately sold out to Ghost Legion, as you can imagine. How much was the Ultramarines one? £57 as well for 7 models. Yeah, it's a bit insane how expensive these models are. Like, compare them to the new Necron model. Like, this absolute massive dude is 38 quid. Avatar of Isha. Yeah, Avatar of Isha. That would be good. I don't know how big it is, but I think I might get that and see if I can convert it into somehow my Eldar army. Oh, actually, with the new Maelstrom rules, the Crucible rules, where you can create your custom characters, maybe we'll be able to create some Eldar thing. That would be cool. Or maybe I can make like a Catan for my Necrons. Now, yeah, so this looks like... So this is the Regiment of Renown. This is a new Spearhead. And this is their new Battle Force. 3 big old tree men, including Durfu. And then smaller tree men. That's a cool model. I expected that model to be in for Spearhead or, do you know, one of these sets, but no. You finally make the Scarab Lady. The Scarab Lady! No, we did make the Scarab Lady. I mean, we could give her more scarabs. Actually, that could work. Oh, we can make it for Scarab Lady Transcended. Oh, that would be so cool. Or the Lady of the Swarm, whatever. No. It was ENvtuber, the Scarab Lady. Like, it's based on... If you've never watched Owl House, watch it. It's amazing. But there's a character named Ida for Owl Lady in that. And I went for Imhotep for Stormlord. So it's ENvtuber for Scarab Lady. You know, I thought it was like a really good mix. Combo of them. Yeah, getting hold of a Maelstrom rules looks like pretty fun. Like, there's way more fun stuff with a Maelstrom compared to the 500 worlds. It feels like the 500 worlds released as an afterthought, and the Maelstrom was really the main thing they wanted to... Actually, that could be true. Like, it could have been the case that the 500 worlds campaign was, like, rushed out after Space Marine 2 became such a massive success. I would explain some of it. But here we go. Sergeant Coulson hauled herself to her feet in the wake of the explosion that had rocked the Imperial checkpoint moments before. Fiery ash, razor-sharp shrapnel and bodies of the comrades lay strewn around her, and staccato auto gunfire splintered rockcrete from the heavy panels of the Aegis defence line. A few troops who had survived the blast took cover alongside her on the firing platform, each of them clearly disorientated by the sheer chaos of the moment. Take up defensive positions, hold the line, she Fox hailed, hauling a discarded lasgun to her shoulder. Through the thick plumes of smoke, Coulson could make out the shape of a wrecked Imperial transport vehicle smouldering in the middle of the crater left by the explosion. The cowards must have triggered it to blow, she thought. Maybe beyond that, she saw distant... Sorry, I'm trying to get things here. Beyond that, she saw distant mushroom flashes, lasgun fire, and figures advancing swiftly upon their position. She loosened a few shots of last fire through the gloom, each distinctive crack sending an enemy combatant to the ground in a crumpled heap. A fellow Cadian threw himself against a defensive barrier, pressing into it, and craning his neck to meet the sergeant's eye. Coulson could see, in her peripheral vision, as she ejected an empty energy back from her last gun, that he was young, and he had barely escaped death in that explosion. His fatigues were shredded and the colours were now stained a dark crimson. His pupils were wide, ink-black pools as he spoke. Sergeant, with enough covering fire I can reach your opposite platform and man the heavy bolter. Just give the order. With a heavy click, Coulson slapped another energy cell into her last gun and opened fire into the swarming combatants. By now she could make out the distinctive uniform for mining labourers, each of them carrying tools of the trade, held high in defiance, and stolen Imperial weaponry slung across their bodies. "What's your name, soldier?" she shouted over the dim, without taking her attention from the oncoming enemy. "Kaiser, Sergeant. I can hold them back, just say the word." "Matthias, Rafa," she called to two nearby guardsmen. "On my word. Break with Kaiser with a heavy bolter. Cut them down. Soldiers, focus your fire and cover them. Move." She shouted into her Fox mic with a snarl, and along the line, the Cadians unleashed bolter. The Cadians unleashed heavy indiscriminate fire against the amassing enemy. The insurrectionists scattered behind cover, ducking into darkened alcoves and behind heavy walls of a manufacturing building lining the streets. Offering the Imperial troopers a reprieve, and an opportunity to move into position. Matthias and Rafe were two of Coulson's own. She had served with him for years and knew they could be relied upon. With Kaiser, they broke into a dash, keeping their heads low as they cleared a near 20-meter gap in the defense line, gunfire ricocheting at their feet. The troopers collapsed behind the opposite firing platform, scrambling towards a mounted weapon. With laboured breath, Kaiser grasped the weapon's grips as Rafe swiftly slapped a fresh box magazine into the receiver. Kaiser held the trigger. A deafening series of thuds filled the air as the heavy bolter opened fire. The enemy had been dangerously close to the Cadian lines, but a hail of bolter fire broke their assault almost immediately. Those who weren't hit scattered for cover, and Rafe began calling out targets as their line fractured into small groups. Kaiser swiveled a weapon in response, cutting the enemy combatants down in brutal fashion. Hold your fire, Coulson ordered into her Fox mic. The sound of a final bolter shot echoed off the walls of nearby structures.
A grim dark fairy tale read by a goblin matron.
Yeah! Hi, Blair boys! The sound of a final bolter shot echoed off the walls of nearby structures, and a hush fell over the manufacturing sector. Each of the Acadians listened and observed with caution. A sudden silence had met them, and anxious fingers hesitated over triggers as each shoulder scanned for signs of movement on the street. A distant roar broke the silence as two hulking Goliath rock grinders, a Goliath rock grinder, yeah! Rounded opposing corners and turned in unison, barreling towards a defence line. Behind them, another wave of insurrectionists surged forward, taking advantage of a rolling cover provided by the heavy vehicles. Each one was packed with mining workers. Sun hanging on the sides of flares and smoke grenades held aloft to obscure their advance. Open fire! Oops, sorry, just back to the microphone. Open fire, Coulson barked. She was answered immediately by a deafening cacophony of weapons fire. The heavy bolter opened up again, cutting through the thick smoke clouds until the final round ejected from the weapon with a high-pitched and telling ping. It seemed to do little to slow the advance of the vehicles. Reload, Kaiser screamed. Rafe ripped the empty box magazine free off the weapon, discarding it and slamming another into the receiver in its place. Kaiser tucked the firing blindly into the swirling smoke formations, horrified as the spinning tooth-like blades at the far from mining vehicles churned the corpses of the dead labourers into a fine mist. Kaiser, pay attention, for few pots. Stop the vehicle, Rafe screamed over the thud of a weapon. Roaring engines of unrelenting fire from the heavy stubbers attached to a mining vehicle. Kaiser braced his arms and focused for aim, the thudding of a weapon leaving every muscle in his body, and each of his wounds burning with agony. Screaming through gritted teeth, he opened fire once more. The volley of shots seemed ineffectual until the heavy screech of metal on metal rang out across the sector. Workers were thrown from one truck into the awaiting maw of the other as the vehicles collided, sending both into a violent spin. One careened into a wall and the other upended, rolling onto its side like a beast in the throes of death. It slid to a stop in a shower of sparks, and from around each of the upended vehicles, enemy fighters streamed forwards once more. Their weapons fire was heavier and more focused than before, and their advance obscured by gouts of fire and swirling columns of smoke. Good effect, good effect. Great shooting, soldier. A shot rang out. Race words were cut short and his body folded violently beneath him. No! Hi, Night Parade! And yeah, apparently heavy bolters have a grand ping. I like using the grand type weapons in video games because of that ping. It's like... And the grand isn't the only weapon that pings, mind you. There's a few type of projectile weapons that do. Most of them click, mind you, once you're out of ammo, rather than do for ping. That being said, maybe the heavy bolter because of the type of ammo it fires. And because of its really wide chamber, it makes more of a ping noise. I don't know. Hi, Night Parade. Sniper, Kaiser's lungs burned as he yelled for warning, ducking low and attempting to shift into cover to avoid the same fate. Before he could finally pull himself behind the barrier wall, Matthias dove after him with fire in his eyes. The casing of Matthias's last gun met Kaiser's throat, slamming his skull into the fortification wall. Kaiser's vision narrowed into blackened tunnels and his eyes rang and hollowed. Kaiser pressed back against the casing of a weapon and took a breath of air, his eyes meeting Matthias, which were wild and feverish. Kaiser clenched his fist.
I still feel like a tourist. Hopefully something grabs me soon. I love lore.
You love lore. We love lore too. This is one thing sometimes I find about reading Warhammer lore and, you know, stories is the fact that they don't have very strong, like, point of view characters. Like, we started with Sergeant Coulson here, but then sometimes we've got the point of view as Wraith, and then sometimes we got the point of view of, what's his name? Kaiser. And as it's like it's just constantly just switching between their point of views, and it's a bit difficult to keep up with what it's actually trying to do. I find that's like quite common amongst Warhammer lore in general. So it feels a bit weird. Hi, Random Dragon. So today I learned if you're mobile and not using the YouTube app, you can't chat or it doesn't read you here. Oh, that's interesting. I never knew that. Before he could, what's this? Ducking low and attempting to shift into blah, 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 blah. Kaiser pressed back against the casing of a weapon and took a sharp breath of air, his eyes meeting Matthias, which were wild and feverish. Kaiser clenched his fist and swung. With a slackening crack, it connected with Matthias's cheek and sent him to the ground, his helmet falling away from his head and his last gun spinning out of reach. As Kaiser took a sucking breath of hot air and struggled to regain his senses, Matthias scrambled to his feet. Kaiser looked over at his crazed comrade, who was now pulling his close combat blade. His hand had taken a sickly pale hue, his nails elongated, black and sharp, and the ridges upon his forehead, once hidden by his helmet, looked distinctly alien. Xenos! Traitor scum, spat Kaiser, fumbling for a last pistol. That was no longer fair. The opening was enough for Matthias to rush, and still distorted, and the still disorientated Cadian. There, let me reread that. The opening was enough for Matthias to rush the still disorientated Cadian. His shoulder met Kaiser's midsection, knocking the wind from his lung once more, and Matthias wrestled him to the ground. The combat knife came to meet Kaiser's throat, and he felt its sharp bite against his skin as he fought back, right-knuckled to keep the blade from slipping further. Blood welled along the blade of the knife. There was a cemetery behind Matthias's eyes that seemed to come from some unspoken depth in his soul, crazed and burning, unflinching. a trait to push down all the hard on the blade, and hissed through gritted teeth. The chains of tyranny are broken. Your false gods will burn, for we are the signs of a four-armed emperor. All hail the coming of the Star Children. The words, the ravings of a madman meant nothing to Kaiser. His consciousness began to slip away, his grip weakening upon the blade. All around him the sound of boots drumming on the ground grew closer and closer. Yeah, these are I mean, it's more tales, I guess, rather than lore. But it's nice to read about them. And it gives you, if you're new to it, it does give you a kind of idea of, you know, the factions and stuff. But yeah, I do find it's not just like these little things where it's like books. Like, one of the things I sometimes struggle with reading Warhammer books is the fact that they can just be a bit all over the place at times. It's like, even reading books that are otherwise quite well written, sometimes like, they'll have like these, what's a good word for it? Intermissions, kind of, where you can see like another character or like another group of characters for a chapter. And the way it just like jumps from one person's point of view to another is quite disorientating and confusing, especially when you're struggling to keep up with these weird names. It's not like other stories I've read where they'll have new paragraphs for each point of view, and like they'll make a good distinctive point of trying to make sure you're aware of whose point of view it is as soon as you start that new paragraph. Warhammer novels tend to have an A, B, C, and sometimes even a D plot. Yeah, I mean, that's not uncommon. It's, but if... That's not uncommon generally in fantasy fiction. And sci-fi. Ba, 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 ba. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Like, what happened to Coulson? Yeah, although they often divide the plots into chapters and paragraph changes inside that from what I've read. Yeah. Well, that's pretty normal. Oh, wait, that wasn't finished. I thought it had finished. Oh, more! A crack of gunfire rang out, and the dead weight upon Kaiser's body let up. Matthias fell away from him in a heap, the knife clattering to the ground beside him. The burning skies above Kaiser came back into view as smog choked. Air filled his lung, and two more cracks sounded dangerously close to his head now. He could hear the hiss of ejected ammo shells. The shots came at close range, and punched smoking wounds into Matthias's skull. A disembodied hand came into view. Its owner became clear. Sergeant Coulson, applying pressure to a wound on her stomach, pulled Kaiser to his feet. She spun the auto pistol around in her grasp, offering him the handle. Any soldier who leaves his weapon on the field of battle without prior permission from his superior officer will be shot. Oh, no! Article 1295 dash or slash WR. WR! That's like 007! Coulson left a pause in the air that lingered as Kaiser took the weapon from her hand. Soldier, we need to move. Coulson took Kaiser's arm, draping it over her shoulder as another trooper and combat medic supported Coulson in turn. Together they limped away from the checkpoint with only a handful of fellow Cadians in tow. As Kaiser looked back over his shoulder, he could see the line was near overrun. Among the labourers now were the uniforms of their own. Their owners possessed of the same wild fervour that he had seen in Matthias's eyes. He raised his last pistol weakly, aiming it into the horde, unleashing shot after shot. Wait. Auto pistol? Last pistol. She gave him an auto pistol. Now he's shooting a last pistol. Did I... Am I missing something here? Like, I know he was reaching for his last pistol before, and it was missing. And she just handed him an auto pistol. Okay, whatever. This is Sergeant. Someone didn't proofread. This is Sergeant Coulson requesting fire support on position TG4293.32. I repeat, fire support on position TG4293.32. Unknown Xenos incursion. Enemy combatants may be wearing our colours. I repeat, enemy may be wearing our colours. Extreme prejudice required. A burst of auto guns rang out behind the Cadens, retreating from the line, and 3 of the remaining soldiers crumpled to the ground. Kaiser took aim once more, his vision a blur and each shot now wildly off mark. Coulson led the remaining troops through a series of narrow choke points in an attempt to lose the pursuers. Looking into hollowed ruins, the remaining soldiers cleared each corner as they entered, looking for signs of the enemy. They climbed the stairs to the second floor. Coulson and the combat medic lowered Kaiser to the ground, his breath shallow as he rested against the walls for a brief moment. Patch Kaiser up, said Coulson, the words almost a whisper. Rest of you watch the perimeter. We haven't lost them yet. The combat medic began tending to Kaiser's wounds as the rest of the Acadians took cautious positions at the windows. Sergeant, what happened? Pass whispered, as he sutured a ragged bullet wound. What do we do next? If we don't get out of this sector, we're dead. We pray to the Emperor that our request for fire support is granted, and in the meantime, know that we cannot trust anyone. The words fell heavy on the air, and they waited. ITA! Someone is getting fired. I doubt they're getting fired. It's very easy to make mistakes like that. It's entirely possible that, like, she was meant to, like, pull out his last pistol and give it to him. Or something like that. Hi, random dragon. Brood Brothers being a thing you could hide in the Imperial troops would be fun.
Brood Brothers being a thing you could hide in Imperial troops would be fun.
Yeah, I think the issue with that would be you wouldn't be able to hide them amongst Space Marines. You wouldn't be able to hide them amongst Eldar. I mean, maybe Eldar and Tau and stuff you could. But you wouldn't be able to hide them amongst Necrons. You wouldn't be able to hide them well amongst Chaos except for Cultists. So I can see why they don't have a rule like that. It could be fun if they did have something. Like they had a unit that your opponent played as if it was their own. Wait! Conscript! I'm joking. Well, I find reading about Genestealer cults funny is because 9 times out of 10, if you're reading something about Genestealer cults, 1, they outnumber their enemy massively. 2, they usually take way more casualties than their enemy by a large margin. Like here, what worth it for us? Like a Chimera or a Taurox and a squad of guardsmen? Like maybe 20 guardsmen here or something like that. Maybe a heavy weapons team as well. And they've just took out 2. Wait, how many did they take out? They took out like 2 squads of neophytes. At the very least. 2 rock grinders. Maybe even 3 or 4 squads of neophytes. And 2 rock grinders. And it's like, okay, but that goes completely against Genestealer cult law, where they say that they're the ones who are outnumbered. They have to use ambush and guerrilla tactics because they're outnumbered by the enemy. But almost every single time you read a story about them, or read lore about them, like, you know, some sort of event occurred, they always just have infinite numbers that are swarming the enemy. Oh... Rude was being a thing. It could be fun. Yeah, I don't know how they'll do that though. Do you know, with rude buffers? I think the main thing about it is like maybe that's like where half of the stealth comes from you know, Genestealer cult type stuff, and like the infiltration rules. It represents troops that the enemy thought were friendly becoming, you know, aggressive. And that can work against like all sorts of things, like the Necrons, the Genestealer cults that have infiltrated them. They don't realise that they're Genestealer cults because all of the scans didn't pick them up as, you know, living organisms, and the Genestealer cults were like wearing Necron-y stuff to disguise themselves, and they're like, what, they weren't Necrons, but we scanned them. What do you mean they weren't Necrons? You mean they weren't flayed ones? They're actually just people pretending to be flayed ones. They flayed their own flesh. But it totally depends on whether they are still in hiding and being discovered, or in an open rebellion on the planet. Yeah, I think while the lore, it does sound cool to talk about them, you know, being these ambush and infiltrators and stuff, is because they still have a similar issue to what the Tyranids themselves have. Of you can't really have them being a point of view characters too well, and still keep a person's attention through the entire story. Maybe a short story is fine. And honestly, they're just not popular enough, I guess. So the main thing is you're always going to see these other stories from somebody else's point of view, and it makes it's just much more fun to throw hordes and hordes of, you know, enemies at your heroes, rather than having your heroes throwing hordes and hordes of themselves at the enemies. But anyway, yeah, neophyte hybrids. I've already done all this stuff about neophyte hybrids. To be fair, the cult icon rules allows them to regen models, and Resurgence just places new units down. I like to think, even in balanced match, there's like 50% extra Genestealer cult entities lurking in waiting. Yeah, it does make sense in matches, I guess, because one of the things is while in normal battles, if you're doing an ambush of an enemy who outnumbers you, well, generally, if you're in war with an enemy that has far more numbers than you do, you want to ambush their forces and bring as much firepower as you can against as little as they have. So that means in any single battle, you should always outnumber them, or at least outpower them significantly. And you've got the benefit of surprise and ambush. So it always makes sense in like your average battle that even though your normal battles is meant to represent two equal forces fighting one another, that the Genestealer cults will still just have more numbers and more presence in the battlefield, because they're pretty much out of everyone, for ones who it's going to be hardest to fight on equal footing. Every single other battle that you play, unless it's like some of these special missions, it's meant to represent two equal forces fighting one another. And it's like, this is not a very super realistic, it's not a super realistic battle. It's not a battle that either of them would have wanted to have to fight, but they have to fight it for whatever reason. So now they're stuck there with two equal forces. So yeah. I mean, Genestealer cuts do hit really hard and they just fold faster than any form of Eldar. I guess that makes sense. I mean, Eldar aren't meant to actually, like, if you, in the lore, Eldar do not fold quickly at all. It's like one of the things where it's read about Eldar versus Space Marines, and you've got just this squad of Guardians fighting Space Marines, and the Space Marines are being pushed hard by them. They're struggling to hit them. They're struggling to take them down. They get words. Guardians can hit hard, but they're moving faster than the Space Marines are. They're almost as strong as the Space Marines are. Like, in lore, Eldar are insane. They're faster than Space Marines. They're almost as strong. They're much taller than the average human. They have... Even the least skilled Eldar has hundreds of years of experience. This is actually one of the issues that the Tau have against humans as well. Is that humans are much faster than them. They have much better senses than Tau. Actually, that's quite an interesting thing. Is that if you compare humans to Eldar and Tau to humans, humans are kind of both like orcs compared to the Tau and both like the Eldar. In which they're bigger than the Tau, they're faster than the Tau, they have a much longer lifespan than the Tau. Like, even a relatively inexperienced guardsman, if they've been a guardsman for a while, like they've survived those first 15 hours and they've been a guardsman for a few years, they probably have way more experience than any Tau fire warrior. In fact, many guardsmen will have more experience than, like, a Tau would have been alive into old age. Do you ever add a Ridge Runner to the Genestealer cult list? That vehicle is like the secret sauce to Genestealer cult. It's just improving all attacks. I do not have a Ridge... All of my Genestealer cults are just going to have stuff from the Combat Patrol magazine. So it's 2 Neophyte hybrids. Oh yeah, with the exception of the squad of normal Genestealers I had, just anyway. So it's 2 Neophyte hybrids. The Abominations, that 1 unit to 5 Neophyte Acolytes or whatever they're called. Or Acolyte Hybrids, something like that, I don't know. The Goliath Rock Grinder. The Mages. And then we've got to get a Broodlord, Patriarch, another Mages. And what else comes in the Brood Coven? There's something else that comes in the Brood Coven. Maybe 2 things. Oh yeah, a squad of Jackal, a Jackal Alpha and a squad of Jackals also come with this. Hybrid Metamorphs. Yeah, Hybrid Metamorphs, that's what we got. Primers should be in the Coven. Yeah, Primers as well. So yeah, that's all we got. I don't plan to get anything more for the Genestealer cuts because they don't interest me enough. I do really like the Ridge Runner. And if I got a choice between a Goliath Rock Grinder and a Ridge Runner, I'd off. Honestly, the Ridge Runner would be one of my choice of units if I was going to like make my own list. But, you know, I've always thought of the average elders being more cautious in battle than other factions due to fear of losing their life, having much... I don't necessarily think that's the case. The Eldar do fight more defensively than other factions in general. Besides maybe the Tau. But the Eldar don't really fear for losing their life too much. There's 2 major reasons. One, because they have the Soul Stones. They trust their colleagues to get the Soul Stones and, you know... get them back to the craft world or wherever they come from. And they can become wraiths or, do you know, work with the... Oh, what's it called? There's a word that they have, do you know, the entire... All the links, when they put the soul stone into the craft world, they're like all of them linked together. On top of this, when they do go to battle, they generally go to battle fully prepared to die and knowing that if they die, it's for the greater good of, you know, the Eldar. There's very rarely a time where they go to battle without that sort of, like, true idea. As far as I'm aware, like, against the Chaos Space Marines, they're fully willing just to die to fulfill the goal. They didn't fulfill the goal in that one combat patrol we read. Instead, you had this really cool scene of just a squad of Guardians fighting like this Chaos Lord and a squad of Space Marines, including Khorne Berserkers, and winning, kind of, until they were finally pushed out by grenades. And then the way portals opened and like a Farseer came out with a bunch more Guardians, and then the Farseer just got folded like nothing, and it was like, what? And then we find out that the Farseer apparently defeated a demon prince, and he just gets folded like nothing. It's like 100 years ago, or 10,000 years ago, apparently this Farseer defeated a demon prince or something like that. I mean, maybe he got very old. Infinity Circuit. Yeah, that's it. To be fair, if you were to sum up Eldar in combat in a single tactic, it would be Fire and Fade. It's really hard to fight something that shoots you and immediately gets out of line of sight. Yeah. The other thing about the Eldar is that they are very, very tough to actually kill. Like, they can take significant injuries. And then, because of their really, really good technology, they can be patched up perfectly. I'm pretty sure I've read something where an Eldar, like, took really bad injuries. But, you know, they faded away, took the body with them, and just healed them up. They didn't even need to, like, robotic arms or anything. Like, do you know humans do? Like, if you lose your limb. No, the Eldar, they lose their limb. They just get a new limb. They just grow a new limb. Or they attach the old one. It's perfect. If the humans can do that, mind you. There have been stories of humans that have, like, been blown to pieces and they just put them back together and they look perfect again. But yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, denizen of Miseryville. How you doing? Hope you're not in Miseryville. But yeah, for Eldar generally do try to preserve their numbers though, but I generally don't think that they... Like, almost everything I've read about for Eldar is that they're fully willing to die for whatever they're about to fight for. They're going to do everything that they can to make sure that, like, to protect their, one another. The main thing they do is they try to protect one another. Like, they fight in a very defensive way, but each one of them prepared to, you know, die for the cause, but also not prepared to sacrifice the others for it. It's very weird. It's so interesting that they've put move and shoot move into Eldar. They do that in Battlefield Gothic too, where they get an extra turn to move in a phase. I guess that's interesting. Space Marines get that. Space Marines actually fights in a very similar way sometimes when you actually look at a lot. I like a lot of their old lore especially. Like, they're described as a scalpel, where they move in very quickly, destroy something, then just get out of there quickly. And you had like things like the Raven Guard and Right Scars that were very, very good at that. But even things like the Ultramarines, like the entire way that they fought, because they were so few in number, they fought very more similarly to the Eldar than they did to the Guardsmen and stuff. Which always just confused me why they had Rhinos and Predators and Land Raiders and stuff. Like, Land Raiders are cool, don't get me wrong, but they don't feel very much part of that entire thing that you read about in the lore for them. Well, you can do that now. Phobos you can do all that stuff with. It's really cool. The one thing about Eldar at the moment is that while they do have entire move, shoot, and scoot, they don't really have the same thing that they used to have. Like, Eldar were all, like, really high initiative. Like, the lowest Eldar was initiative 4. Most Eldar were, like, initiative 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. So it pretty much meant that in combat they would always go first, which made them much more dangerous. They always had, like, really fragile armor, though. I mean, if you go by their lore, like, even the Guardians should probably have a 4+ armor save. Most of your, you know, Aspect Warriors should have, like, a 3+ armor save, and, like, things like your Striking Scorpions and stuff should probably have a 2+ armor save. Like, I mean, Striking Scorpions are getting hit by bolter weapons and just, like, shrugging it off like it's nothing. And same with Warp Scorpions, actually. And then you get, like, Space Marines being hit by bolt guns and, you know, for being, like, killed by it. Like, Eldar armor is nothing to really sniff at in the lore, but as soon as it comes onto a battlefield, it's no better than Carapace armor. Similarly, Eldar are only strength 3 and only toughness 3, but in lore, they're kind of, like, significantly stronger and tougher than a human. So, I mean, it depends. Sometimes, like, it's very similar to the elves in fantasy, in which the elves always have more than enough numbers to, like, die in droves. In theory, they're much stronger, faster, and tougher than humans, but you've often got humans overpowering them. That being said, humans in fantasy are just built different. Humans in fantasy are going up against ogres and sometimes winning strength contests with them. Oh gosh, if 40k is chess, Eldar is always white while everyone else plays black. Yeah. Well, that's actually funny. Like, one of the things about Eldar is you don't see a lot of scopes and stuff on their weapons, like, outside of rangers. And that's in part because Eldar's senses are just so good that they don't really need them, similar to, like, Space Marines. Like, they're just that good. And similarly, humans have the exact same stuff with, like, compared to Tau. It's like our senses, human senses compared to Tau senses are just so much good. But all of that Tau technology and discipline is only halfway bridging the gap between just how good a human is at shooting naturally. Well, not all of this is very well translated into the board games and stuff. If 40k is checkers, Eldar playing chess. The first Ultimate story I read had them moving stealthily through a jungle battling with Alpha Legion Marines. No idea how they blended in with the blue armor. As far as I'm aware, Space Marines will cover up their armor, you know, for the mission. In fact, if you read, like, especially for really old codexes and, like, dwarves and stuff, you can see, like, ultramarines in camo and stuff in, like, for paint schemes, suggested paint schemes for them. And I think it was, like, a suggested paint scheme for was a battle on Macragge. Oh, not on Macragge, it was another planet. And they were fighting at the North Pole against, like, hordes of Tyranids. And they all died, but, like, the entire Tyranid fleet died trying to kill them. So it was like, both died. And they had, if I remember correctly, they showed what, like, a colour scheme for them, and it was, like, Ultramarines wearing white armour and stuff. And they had green stuffed cloths over their, or cloaks rather, over their armor. So that's how I imagine they'll probably think. The other thing is, I do believe that Space Marines did have, like, some stealth field or whatever at one point. And it's now something that the Phobos use, but I think that what had been mentioned a couple of times. Like, the Alpha Legion makes massive use of it, but I think it's still something that was in 40k before Phobos, just not very often used. They'll probably mention it though if they did use it in the story. Elder Armor may be better than Space Marines in lore, but not in game. But it's not. Elder Armor sucks in gameplay. Like Tau Crisis suits are flying all over the place, while they have 10-inch movement, which is still nothing to scoff at, but still. Yeah, Raptors chapter hype, they figured out the whole camel and stealth thing. Camo and stealth, yeah. A lot of Space Marine chapters, like few, do using camo as, like, incredibly dishonorable. That doesn't necessarily mean they won't use it. Like, Imperial Fist, view it as very dishonorable. They will still use it, they just don't like having to use it. Ultramarines, they don't have that same sort of thing. Some Ultramarines might be like, yeah, I don't like this idea, but most of them will probably just be fine with it. Black Templar usually hate it. Raptors, on the other hand, they're like, they don't even care enough to have a proper official colour scheme. In terms of like, no, we don't do heraldry, we just do camo. Even the Raven Guard do heraldry, but they also do camo. The Raven Guard have been mentioned multiple times to use camo. But then, you know, they also use the black and white heraldry. Good old Science of Corvus. Yeah. If we are lore accurate, every Space Marine unit is 3 models max, but that would be less money for GW. That was McCrag, the first company who wiped out defending the North. Oh, it was McCrag. Okay, yeah. That's where I struggle remembering stuff. Yeah. I know there's another planet for Space Marines fought on before McCrag. I think it was like an Agri World, maybe. And they gave a heavy toll to the Tyranids, which significantly slowed down the advance on McCrag itself. But yeah. But yeah. If we're going for full lore accuracy, and to be honest, I don't think it would be 3 models max for Space Marines. It'll probably be...
Where do we draw the line of camo is no longer necessary. I think bigger than a dread it's kinda pointless. Lord knows knights don't bother.
Warhound Titans. I'm pretty sure I've read stories about Warhound. I mean, not using camo necessarily, but where they do use stealth fields. I'm pretty sure I've read about that. As part of like the entire Scout Titan thing. And that being said, Warhammer lore is incredibly inconsistent. But the other thing is, the Invictus uses camo. And it kind of makes sense when you think about... You can be ambushed by a Carnifex. If a Carnifex can use camo well enough to ambush people, then... Yeah, I think like an Invictus, or whatever it's called, Invictor Warsuit, is probably capable of using camo. I think there's a point where it stops giving you stealth, but it still allows you to infiltrate before your enemy... It allows you to get closer to your enemy before they notice you, like before all the shots start firing. Tau Ghost Q's just running around stomping but invisible. Yeah! That'd be me telling you about Sol Arena and Odex getting stealth bonuses in different ways, but they're all painted in look at me and know your Slayer colours. I'm pretty sure I've seen colour schemes of Warhound Titans, like with camo and stuff. Like, it would make sense when, like, you got planets with trees that go, like, as tall as a warlord. And when you've got, like, airplanes and stuff. Like, don't forget, they painted ships in camo colours. They painted ships to be hard to spot. And you had two types of the camo that ships did. You had the dazzle one, which is like, yeah, you will see us, but you will not know how far away we are. And then you had the other one of, we want it so that people don't see us. Like, they'll paint the decks and tops of the ship so that it will look kind of like the ocean, so hopefully spy planes wouldn't spot them. How effective those were, I'm not really that sure about. But you'll be surprised just how well camo actually works on big things. Like, look at the size of the chieftain stuff. Chieftain. Is it chieftain? Oh, what's the word? Pfft. Look at the size of, like, British and NATO tanks and stuff. They're absolutely massive. Camo is still very effective with them. Other things is, look at, like, some of the buildings that they build on, like, American camps. Like, don't they set up camps when they're invading somewhere? And they'll still put them into camo and stuff, and you realise that actually it's surprisingly effective. Like, you won't notice it as early on. That's the main thing about camo. It's not meant to stop you from being seen. It's meant to stop you from being noticed as early on. So people will have to get closer to spot you, or they won't necessarily spot you out of the corner of the eye. Challenger, leopard. Yeah, there we go. Challenger. That's the one. I keep get the names mixed up. Why do we have to, like, go with a naming scheme? It makes it very hard to remember which one's which. I feel like camo on vehicles IRSL is hide them prompto in case of flying scouts. Well, it's partly flying scouts, but it's a lot of it is just to break up silhouettes, so it's just harder to spot them. And it's harder to... There's two things. It's one, it makes it harder to spot, like, how far away they are once you do spot them. Second is that you have to get closer to spot them, and you're not necessarily just going to notice them on your peripheral vision. And the third is flying enemies, drones and stuff aren't necessarily going to notice you. And they do go quite a far away with this. Titans probably have camo for times they are not moving to protect them from being seen from the air. I imagine they might throw stuff on top of them. Actually, one of the things that they do in airports is that they paint fake hangars on the ground. I say airports, military air bases. They paint fake planes on the ground. They paint fake shadows around planes and stuff. And they'll paint the spots where they keep planes like different colours. This is odd. It's just basically to help distort shadows, to make it harder to know what's real.
The point of most camo is I'm looking for something that is X shape, but that doesn't look like shape X, so it's probably not it.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. That's where a lot of the other things come from, like the air bases. They want to just make it as confusing as possible to tell what's real and what isn't. So that, like, yes, there's a plane there, but I can't see its shadow because it's on a weird box. It's on a weird painted box. The shadows don't show very well on it. Meanwhile, there's a plane there that has a very distinct shadow that goes with the sun and the height that it is. That must be our target. No, that one was painted on. The other one was actually the real one. And it's surprisingly effective. Another thing that you do is just throw stuff on top of your vehicle. Like, if you ever see, like, a vehicle just walking, like a tank or something, and it's just got planks of wood on top of it, and, like, hay or bits of metal or something just, you know, on top of it, predominantly on top, not even on the sides. It's not extra protection that they're doing. It's often to try and cover up the tank so that when you're trying to spot them from the air, and sometimes they put it like on the side and stuff so that if you're driving past you won't necessarily think, oh, that's a tank. You'll think, oh, that's just a collection of scrap, or oh, that's some shed. I mean, these are very, like, weird ways that they'll have to cover them up, and generally that's not like what command will want to do, but sometimes you got a tank in a position where it's quite vulnerable now, and you've got to stop it being spotted, but you still want to use the tank, so you cover it with just weird things. People with colour blindness are apparently very good at defeating the effect of camo, as they naturally look for oddities of shape and shadow instead of pure colour differences. Yeah, that's also one of the reasons why the most effective camos often aren't based on colour. It's often based instead on shading. Like, it's all about breaking up that silhouette. It's all about breaking up the silhouette so it's harder to recognise. And that's why you sometimes like see like desert camos that are not the colour you'd expect. Like, why is it pink? Oh, why is your camo white and black? You're in a desert, that looks like snow camo. Or you go into the snow and you're suddenly going in there with browns and stuff like that. It's just stuff. But yeah, I don't know why we got onto camo. Because we got a campaign. Campaign! Genestealers versus Space Marines. The Space Marines face down a hidden enemy. The cell of swarming fouls the Genestealer cults. The very fate of the system hangs in a balance and neither side can afford to falter, no quarter, no mercy. So there we go. A secretive host of Genestealer cults have long infiltrated the sparsely populated planets of this system. It has taken generations working in clandestine fashion to reach this precipice. The time of cloak and dagger has passed. It is time to throw off the shackles of their imperial oppressors and welcome the arrival of the Star Children. However, a violent uprising does not go unnoticed, even amidst the chaos of endless wars. At the same time, forces of the Space Marines continue their search for ancient archaeotech in the system, an effort that could swing the direction of a number of conflicts across the galaxy in their favour. However, they are few in number, and matters of urgency elsewhere across the sector have waylaid their efforts time and time again. The Angels of Death know that their enemies lurk in every shadow and they must be ready to react. Oh, you need combat patrol stuffs. Ooh! Genestealer cults versus Tyranids! Okay, this is interesting. Written one side a famous stage magician during wartime and put him in charge of creating fake vehicles and other military objects to fuel enemy recon. Yay! As far as I'm aware, for very few stealth systems or Titans, visual identity creation isn't the only way to detect stuff. They scan for emissions, so sometimes turning it off is enough. Oh, that's cool. The Genestealer cults are embattled by a splinter fleet of Tyranids. Whether it's a test of faith or an esoteric punishment from the Star Children, the ravenous Tyranids show no mercy, not even to their progeny. The Genestealer cults entered this system long ago, infiltrating every planet and structure of the Imperium. As their influence grows, it is the work of generations, and every member of the cult plays their part to spread the fervent influence. However, the time of revolution has come, and it is time for these freedom fighters to unshackle themselves from Imperium's rule. They have declared open war on any and all that would deny them the beauty of their vision. A world at one with the Star Children. The Hive Mind's will is unknowable, but the advantage of a Hive fleet cannot be denied. They charge through the system, consuming all that they can, and crushing anything that resists, or they rampage across the battlefield in numbers too fast to ignore, and few can halt their crushing stampede. If the Tyranids cannot be stopped, none will survive, and it will be consumed by the ravenous appetite of the Great Devourer. Also, this kind of suggests that they don't really recognize the children as the Star Children, as the Tyranids as the Star Children. that's interesting. I like that idea. The Genestealer cults, you know, they're getting the planet ready for the Star Children, and they see other planets in the systems get devoured, and they're like, what? What the heck is that? That's not the Star Children. As far as I'm aware, yeah. Genestealers fighting Tyranids is like teenagers rebelling against their parent, except instead of grounding, it's being eaten alive. Whereas the Sonarian Titanic has where a planet got firebombed, and it massive evaporated the oceans, resulting super dense mist made even Titan-grade Auspex equipment freak out and give false returns. Oh, have you watched Kill Loop for Carl? If you like Titans and all of that Auspex stuff, it is amazing. It is kind of silly, but at the same time, really fun. The arrival of a splinter fleet to the system ahead of a high fleet may be hailed as a blessing from most fervent of the Genestealer cultists. However, the work is not done, and they must push through a wave of ravenous Tyranids to secure escape to another planet in this system to herald the full-scale arrival of the Star Children. Perhaps this battle is a mere test of faith. One they cannot fail. Oh! The battlefield is strewn with a chitinous remain, or chitinous remain of a Tyranid splinter fleet as the Genestealer cult spearhead pierces through the ravenous swarm. With this battle behind them, the cultists seek to move off-world and spread the creed of the Star Children further yet, heralding the arrival of a full-scale invasion by the Tyranid High Fleet. If you're seeking a faction victory and the Genestealer cult were victorious, the next article is H, Campaign 19. If a Genestealer cult player has won 3 battles in a row, the campaign ends with a Genestealer cult's campaign victory. First they clashed with World Eaters. Ah. Final Day Detachment sounds really fun. Genestealer cult and Tyranid suit. Hi, look, Bonnie, did you need... Yeah, we did. We were looking at it at the start of the stream and the perfume advert. It was great. I kind of want to get that model and convert it either into a Catan with a bunch of scarabs or into like an Avatar of Cain, Avatar of Isha. The Tyranid Splinter Fleet continues its assault on this sector, consuming all in their path, including the most fervent heralds. While the very specific goals of this Splinter Fleet remain unknown, it's clear as the dead Genestealer cult slid to the battlefield that the Tyranids cannot be reasoned with, and all should be fearful of a relentless advance. Genestealer cult faction ability. Each time a unit of this ability is destroyed, roll 1d6, adding 3 to the result if it's a battle line unit. On a 4+, oh, so that means battle line units will always pass. On a 4+, that unit is placed into cult ambush, and you can place 1 ambush marker anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from all enemy units. If an enemy model, excluding aircraft models, ends any kind of move within 9 inches of a cult ambush marker you place, that cult ambush marker is removed from a battlefield. At the end of the reinforcement step of your opponent's next movement phase, for each of your cult ambush markers that are still on the battlefield, you can select 1 unit from your army that is a cult ambush and set that destroyed unit back up on the battlefield using Deep Strike ability. Okay. Okay. The old cult ambush rules scary. Yeah, that is very different. Easier to counter, I guess. What's the current rules for them? Yeah, a lot of the rules here in these Combat Patrol magazines seem to be quite old. Which makes sense. They probably like had designed a lot of these things like well before Codex and stuff had come out. Because I mean, for The combat patrols themselves are like really old, like for models. What's the current version of Everwool? Cult Ambush. If your army faction is Genestealer cults, you start with a number of resurgent points depending on the battle size as shown below. Insurgent knights, you get 6 incursions, so 1000 points you get 6 resurgence points. At 2000 points you get 10 resurgent points, and at 3000 point games you get 14 resurgent points. Each time a unit from your army is destroyed, if every model in that unit has this ability, you can spend the relevant number of resurgent points based on that unit's starting strength. So aberrants of 5 models cost 4 resurgent points. At 10 models they cost 8. Acolyte hybrids cost 2 resurgent points. At 10 they cost 4. You know what, I can just show you guys this. Resurgent points, it removes the randomness. Part of the original problem was your units were costed to be able to come back, but that was based on RNG. Yeah. So each one costs like, oh, Genestealers was pricing it cheap. Considering for pretty expensive models. If you do, add a new unit to your army identical to the destroyed unit. In Cult Ambush, add its starting strength with all its wounds remaining, and any one-shot weapons those models are equipped with considered to not have been shot. Place 1 Cult Ambush marker anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches away from all enemy units. Cult Ambush is a type of strategic reserves. Units in Cult Ambush cannot be targeted with rapid ingress, but can be set up on the field using Cult Ambush markers as described below, or by following the rules of strategic reserves in subsequent turns. Okay, so these ones you don't need for Cult Ambush markers, you can just bring them on, it looks like, normally. So you can pretty much always bring your units back, which is pretty cool. Use a circular 32mm diameter marker for a Cult Ambush. If an enemy model, excluding aircraft, ends any type of movement within 9 inches of a Cult Ambush marker you placed, that Cult Ambush marker is removed from the battlefield. At the end of the reinforcement step for your opponent's next movement phase, for each of your Cult Ambush markers still on the battlefield, you can select 1 unit from your army. To do so, set that unit on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from the enemy unit, with at least 1 model in that unit touching the Cult Ambush marker. And all other models placed wholly within 3 inches of the Cult Ambush marker. That Cult Ambush marker is then removed from the battlefield. That makes sense. That's cool. But you can just bring them in from strategic reserves like normal. This one... doesn't suggest that you can bring them in from strategic reserve, so if you lose your Cult Ambush markers, that's it, you can't bring it back. Wait, on the back cover of this issue, you will find a set of Cult Ambush markers. Oh, you can cut them out. That's interesting. So it talks about enhancements. Oh, that's some cool art. I've not seen that art before. I wonder why it's the same majors every single time. So Cult Ambush markers are only needed for something like Deep Strike, which is Atlan and Jackals, I believe. Blips. We love the blips. I think you can still bring in Jackals from reserve. You just don't need to deep strike them. You just have to bring them in from a board edge instead. Well, that's what I got from reading that. I might be wrong. Secondary objectives, optional objectives. So it's just teaching you about the rules, the different stratagems you've got. Yeah. Okay, magazine 68. We have a lot of bases, another sprue. We've built these guys before on the stream. This thing comes with some cool pop-outy stuff. Some more different styles of terrain. Oh. Yeah. Terrain tokens. Where as for blips, ignore that. Blips. I don't think it can strategic reserves after a certain turn. Can you not? Oh. Okay, and here's our rules for all of our characters. Does it not get a psychic attack in combat patrol? I guess it doesn't. I feel like it gets an psychic attack normally. Neophyte hybrids. Aberrants with their toughness 6 and 3 wounds. Like, that feels wrong. Still. I'm never gonna get over that. I'm never gonna get over aberrants being so tiny. Yummy papers. Yummy papers. The rock grinder, toughness 10. It's only got 10 wounds. That feels wrong. Explains how a heavy bolter managed to kill it. Oh my gosh, this is not wanting to come out without ripping everywhere. It's a shield generator from Star Wars. Enhancements and secondary objectives. And then cult ambush rules. Let's put these to one side. And neophyte hybrids. How to paint them. Once you paint them white and then put the stuff on them, that's cool, I guess. Put the wash over them. Outrider broods. Oh! An outrider brood descends on a chaos incursion into their territory. Chaos incursion on their territory. Honestly, I've seen cultist spikers trying to kill space marines before. They are doomed. These guys are so doomed. I feel like we should get Atlan Jackals for chaos.
How to paint them? That's funny. I'm just gonna ignore that.
Yeah, we'll ignore them. Outrider broods. A genius to the cult is always wary of its enemies and uses a network of spies and reconnaissance troops to keep an eye on the fringes of their ever-expanding territory. Outrider broods are foes who undertake these missions on fast... Sorry, I'm punching my hand. Duh. On fast light vehicles. There we go. What's that? Someone just decided to put a helmet on a spike for some reason. You don't care about safety. We don't care about safety. Put your helmet on, you silly billies. Look at that cult sniper guy up here. Sniper on a bike. Ridge Runner. Ridge Runners are cool. We need them for the Guardsman. Among the many items that are pilfered, diverted, or otherwise acquired by the Genestealer cults are light vehicles. These are usually repurposed mining vehicles or survey vehicles. Other cults use them to scout out areas, discovering new opportunities, and to provide early warning of counterattacks by Imperial agents and other threats to the uprising. For this purpose, the cults choose vehicles that are blisteringly fast and which can be easily augmented with light armor and weapons. The Outrider Brews themselves do not limit themselves simply to information gathering, but can act as light armor detachments within a larger force, or as a fast strike force, all of their own. Many enemies have only realised that they have crossed into Genestealer territory when the roar of engines has alerted them to a fast attack force bearing down on their position, appearing seemingly out of nowhere before disappearing again into the dust because they got shot to pieces. Haha. Love Genestealer dirt bikes. Yeah, I really love the Genestealer cult vehicles, getting a look into more of the civilian vehicles of Imperium, and the aesthetics is great. It is fun. But it does make me think that we do need more of these types of vehicles in the, Imperium itself. It's strange that the Guard don't get bikes. It is. And Outriders don't feel like good versions of, like, a good way to use bikes. Oh, Bonds of Honor is the next page. Achilles Ridge Runner. The Achilles Ridge Runner excels in difficult environments where lesser vehicles would fail. Built for frontier work, they are fast, reliable, and possess excellent range. With their heritage as survey vehicles, they can carry great loads, and the cults happily put them to use, loading them down with heavy weapons. So a frontier vehicle, okay. Jackal Alphas. Atlan Jackals run in packs, and the Alphas is their undisputed leader. The Jackal Alphas is the most skilled rider, the best shot, and the most vicious killer of their comrades. What happens if the best shot is not the most skilled rider? They possess not only the fastest bikes of the pack and the best weapons, but also the steel nerves required to ride into battle at breakneck speed at the head of an armoured column. Oh, wait, is that just a random plasma canister there? Is that for the Battle of McCrag? An Outrider Brood test defences of an Imperial outpost. Oh. For Wolf Quad. For Wolf Quad. Yeah, the one thing about Genestealer cults is the more I look at Genestealer cults, why is that armor green? No, sorry, that wasn't what I wanted to talk about. For Brothers fight desperately as the orcs close in. Oh, the silver armor is just reflecting the green of the orcs. That's what's happening. Yeah, for one thing about Genestealer cults, it does make me feel like why don't Chaos cults get these things? Where's the Imperial versions of these things? And you kind of do get it. Like, you got the Torok's fast attack vehicle, which is, in Necromunda and still in Legends. I can show you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's amazing. Is it Torok's? It might be something else. Begins with T. If we go to Necromunda, let's just do shop all. Actually, wait. More other games. Necromunda. We can just do vehicles. Here we go. Yeah, we got Prometheum tanks, cargo, this thing, the Ridge Hauler, who's cool. The Ridge Runner, which is also cool. The Outrider quads. Obviously the Rockbinder, Goliath Truck, Atlan Jackals, Iron Head stuff, Iron Crawler. That's not it. Did we get rid of it? It's in the Enforcers. Oh, here we go. Taurus, not Taurox. Taurus. Here we go for Venator. This is great. I love this vehicle so much. Like, this is the Imperial version of the Ridge Runner. It does exist in Legends. It does exist in Legends. Gonna see what its stats are in Legends. Warhammer 40k. Carverals. No. Wait, Imperial Guard are here, aren't they? Yeah, Astra Militarum. Draken. Storm Chimera, Centaur Light Carrier, Omega. Heavy Mortar, Heavy Quad, Arthur's Lighter, Gunship, Minotaur, no. Why can't it be in alphabetic order? Taurus Assault Vehicle. Taurus Venator, yeah, you got two versions of it. The Assault Vehicle, Toughness 6, 6 wounds. And it's equipped with, it's got Scout, obviously. Turbo Boost. It can Turbo Boost! Each time this model advances, it just moves 6 inches instead of rolling. Armored Frame, gets 2 attacks. Oh, it's got a Taurus Grenade Launch as well. Yeah, it gets 2 attacks at strength 9. D6 blast attacks, Hunt to Kill a Missile. It can replace its Heavy Flame with a Grenade Launcher. Then you got for Venator, which same stats again. But this time it has a multi-laser that can be replaced with a last cannon. Which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, a mobile hunter killer. Each time it fires at a monster vehicle, re-roll for wound roll, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I was thinking that why not alphabetical order? Why must we suffer? Yeah. It's got a twin multi-laser, and it can have a hunter killer. And it could place that multi-laser for last cannon, or you can just go for the version that has a grenade launcher. If we look at this version is equipped very differently. And I guess this could be twin last cannons, and the twin heavy stubber could be, or twin auto cannons, whatever they are. Actually, no, this is probably the grenade launcher, maybe. Well, then what the heck is this? The last cannon? With twinned heavy stubbers or concussion cannon. Yeah, I don't know why this versions of it doesn't have either of those weapons, but you know, it's fine. Yeah, it's one of my favourite vehicles though for Taurus. Bonds of Honor. Follow on, boys. Now it is time to show you the librarium. Here the great wisdom of the ancients is curated by the librarians. But they are not mere book brothers and record keepers. They are fully trained. and you take to battle. Oh yeah, so Bonds of Honor, for those who haven't been here with us or, you know, have forgotten. Bonds of Honor is about the Silver Templars who are successors to the Ultramarines and not related to the Black Templars. We're just making stuff up now. Concussion cannons are obviously grenade launchers. Maybe. Heavy stubbers are obviously multi-lasers. But yeah. So these Silver Templars, they like make their own guns and like they care for them greatly. And the sergeant of this one squad has lost his rifle in a battle against the Tyranids. He killed a Tyranid Prime with a knife, got chased out of a tunnel, saved by Infernus Marines, got given a Thunderhawk and told he can go and find his rifle after searching for it on the planet and assuming salvagers have taken it. We found a salvage ship. His gun wasn't there, but it got attacked by Elder Corsairs. He then realised it was in the middle of a battle between Chaos Space Marines and Elder Corsairs. Oh my gosh, that's what's been released today in the Maelstrom. But then they got attacked by a Chaos Space Marine Thunderhawk. They both damaged one another. They both crash landed onto a planet. The Chaos Space Marines died. The Silver Templar survived. They then realised they were on an Orc planet, or at least Orcs were on the planet and nearby. They managed to hide from the Orcs and were like, okay, we need to get rid of these Death Copters. They're going to be the death of us. But when they like was sneaking up on the camp, they instead got sneaked up by commandos. They defeated the commandos, only to have a horde of Orcs attack them. And then they got saved by the Photon. And then the Photon were like, well, not the Photon. They got saved by the leagues of the Photon, by some kin. And the kin were like, hey, come and help us defeat this group of Orcs and we'll get you off this planet. And they're like, okay. And they went to attack this, you know, this big campsite of Orcs. And yeah, they're now being overrun by Orcs. But this entire story is being told by a dude who's very full of himself. And he's telling it to a bunch of neophytes who are like 10-year-old aspirants of to become Space Marines. And they just got taken up to a mountain where they got given some food. And it was like stale bread and water. And they got forced to sleep in a really cold basement.
These guys have been through the ringer. All this for some dude's bolter. Brother, it's not that deep. Just make a new one. This is ridiculous.
You know, look, I'm not going to argue with a guy that went up to a Tyranid Warrior Prime and was like, nah, I can take it, and they just took it with a knife. Like, have you seen the Tyranid Warrior Prime? It ripped a Terminator in half, and this guy was just like, nah, I'm taking it on with a knife. If he wants to find his bolter, he can find his bolter. Yeah, do you know John Wick? This is just John. He's John Wick, but Space Marine mode. And instead of having a dog, he's got a bolter to go after. He's gonna find his bolter, and he's just gonna aim at like some like enemy ship, and he's just gonna fire one shot, and the ship just explodes. It's like, hey, it's like Brother Metrius, whatever his name is, or Ascaton. No, it's Ascaton, I think. Brother Ascaton, Sergeant Ascaton. We need to exterminate this planet. It's like, oh, good. I just found my bolter. Stands on the ship, points this gun out the window, shoots one shot of the planet. The planet just collapses. It better be that good of a bolter, because if it's not, my goodness. Yeah, but can he do it by himself? I'm so tired of this contrived road trip. I don't even know why they're telling this story in particular. Like, what? It's like the guy telling the story, Brother Mechatras over here. Oh, gosh. When you're fully trained and you take to battle, one of them may walk alongside you, and they shall be a conduit of the great power and wisdom that they have imbibed over many dusty hours. Now, I think we left our squad in the middle of battle. If I'm not mistaken, Brother Darian was badly wounded. Oh yeah, he got hit by an orc. It's just an orc boy, I think. They're taking on the orcs pretty easily, and we're getting a bit upset that, you know, none of them have really suffered anything in all these battles. It made sense against, like, you know, just a bunch of gaunts. Because that was mostly what they fought before. It's like against Corsairs, Chaos Space Marines, hordes of orcs. Somebody should be getting injured. Brother Darian was badly wounded, and although he still fought, he dared not move lest he topple over into the pile of orcs that lay in front of him. And as the foe realised that he was struck, they began to come at him from the side, forcing him to twist as he brought one after the other crashing down. Brother Mecatras closed in as best he could do to help his comrade, and between the two of them they managed to stand side by side.
This is the longest setup for a dad joke I've ever heard. It's so long it needs a last time on. You know it's not gonna land at the end.
Oh my goodness. Last time on, dad joke. Bonds of Honor. Bonds of Honor. James Bond. It's James Bond! It's Jason Bourne! They managed to stand. But that did not solve the problem, of course. The orcs kept coming, and the best outcome they could think of was that they might eventually be covered by so many corpses that no further orcs would be able to reach them. No matter how glorious it might sound to slay so many of your enemies, that you are crushed under the weight of the bodies, the reality of it is less magnificent. In fact, both the brothers sometimes spent days, weeks, or even months encased tight in their power armor. The crushing restriction of being pinned in place suddenly made them feel trapped like never before. Now, part of the entire thing with his story is that he is also taking them through, like, the various parts of the Space Marines, like, through the apothecaries he's gone to. He's gone through, like, what Space Marines eat, what Space Marines drink, how they get trained, or at least these Space Marines in particular. So that is interesting. And, like, some of the rituals and, like, what they think about the librarians here is interesting. Like, rather than fearing them, they're like, hey, these guys are really cool. The worst thing about them is they're like books for nerds. We don't mind that they're psychic at all. Seeing their plight, Sergeant Oscarton began to wade towards them. But then, through the smoke and roar of the battle, came the war boss himself, lumbering towards them. He was a great beast, of uncommon size even for an orc. He was clad in great slabs of plate armour, to which were riveted the decaying body parts that he had chosen to take as trophies from his enemies and rival orcs. This was the squad's target, and if their temporary allies, the Xenos of the Leagues of Photon, kept their word, this was the squad's route off the world. Askerton quickly thought something that might have been a command, or might have been more of a whispered hope. Keep them back just a little longer. Actually, it does kind of make sense that the Space Marines could take on that many orcs, because this is meant to be an intercessor squad. An intercessor squad right now can get like 40 attacks when it shoots. And when you combine that with Oath of Moment and stuff like that, they could take down quite a lot of orcs before they got close enough. And then in the melee, you know, they still get 3 attacks each and stuff. And they still have like bolt pistols and stuff. So I can imagine they could take on quite a few orcs, especially of a smaller tribe. And we also have to imagine that the person who's telling the story is probably exaggerating a few of the facts and details. Which, you know, is very in keeping with... I wish more Warhammer lore was like that, where you can't really tell, you know, what's real and what isn't within the story, or what's meant to have actually happened and what isn't. The voice cracked into Darian and Mecatras' helmet, and though nothing had changed, they dug deep in their spirits and renewed their resolve. Askerton meanwhile lunged for the orcs, and the two met. For the orc war boss, and the two met in a great clash. Askerton's knife was caught by a metal claw. Now this wasn't like my bionic arm. Look how it mimics the form of a hand that it replaces. This was a two-pronged pincer with rough hydraulic pipes curling around it. Each one as thick as my wrist. And as thick as your whole arm. Nightcandor. Oh yeah, Nightcandor's one of her neophytes. I don't know whether the Orc Chief had lost it in some form of battle or whether his hand had been amputated just to fit the stump with this dreadful device. Powerful, strange creatures are orcs. And I'd put nothing past them, yeah. The only one that we haven't really seen in much detail, like we learned a bit about the Tyranids through these stories. We learned a bit about the chaos space means in these stories, and we learned a bit about the Photon and the Orcs. Well, for Eldar, we barely covered at all. Like, it was just Eldar Corsairs, and then there just weren't Eldar Corsairs. It was very quick. But wait, so this guy defeated a Tyranid Warrior Prime in battle, and now he's going to have to take on an Orc War Boss with just a combat knife. I don't think this is very realistic. Crude as a mechanical hand was, it served its purpose well. The Sergeant Gaskerton could not get a blow past it, as each time it caught his knife. And as for his bolt pistol, well, he shot it time after time, and though bolts tore chunks of flesh from their target, the Orc just laughed maniacally, yeah, reveling in the brutality of battle and seemingly not caring that it was he who was being slowly blasted to bits rather than his enemy. Then the Orc struck Askerton, such a blow to the head that the lens of his helmet shattered and he stumbled back, dropping to his knees. But that was just the moment that he had been waiting for. As soon as the Orc raised his hand in triumph, Askerton took aim once more with his bolt pistol and fired.
Average Space Marine interaction with the deadliest melee combatants in the galaxy, Nide win.
I mean, that in lore, it's not so true of a lot of modern lore, but especially old lore, Space Marines were just boo. Basically, anything you read about now about Custodes, that's how Space Marine were written in, like, the old lore. You had, not all of the time, but it's very, very often, you'd just have, like, a single Space Marine could arrive on a battlefield and just, that was it. You'd had Tau battle suits, like, firing plasma at Space Marines and rail rifles, and it's just taking chunks out of his shoulder pad or bouncing off his armor. And it's like, yeah, Space Marines were literally written to be insane, but this created a massive disconnect between the lore and the tabletop. Nowadays, Space Marines are usually weakened in the lore now, and the tabletop have greatly improved how good a Space Marine is, and as a result, they're closer. I mean, Space Marines in lore are still better than the tabletop version, but it's not quite as big discrepancy. Nobody likes Space Marines, maybe. Doom Guy 40k. Yeah! Well, that was just... As soon as the Orc raised his hand in triumph, Askerton took aim once more with his bolt pistol and fired. The first bolt ripped the Warbot's arm off. And the next tore open his jaw. And then one final bolt blew out the top of his head. The beast swayed for a moment, the gleam of triumph fading from its eyes before it fell down dead. Askerton ran back to his men. Now, if this was old lore, the Orcs would break at this point and start running away, who were overwhelmed as before. Askerton ran back to his men, who were as overwhelmed as before. With renewed strength, they laid into the Orcs this time, and they cut down a wave. Fewer and fewer of them replaced their fallen comrades, and the Battle Brothers could at least move away. Supporting the injured Darian, the squad made the way to the top of a rise and looked down at the Orc camp below. The whole place was ablaze. It seemed that the squad had provided the distraction. and the scouts of their Sino allies had sneaked in and razed the ground. They had fought well too, and all about the bodies of orcs that had been slain, blasted with plasma or else cloven in two with some bizarre blade that they carried. But as a silver
I feel like
Templars-
crisis suits should have somewhat decent melee profile, as they use their jetpack to deliver a flying knee kick to the enemy.
Don't they actually have a decent profile? It's just the issue is that they're unlikely to hit the enemy. Yeah, if they get 3 attacks at strength 5. So against like guardsmen, they would, if they hit the guardsmen, they're destroying them. The issue is that the Tau have really, really poor senses and are quite like slow-witted compared to a human. And by slow-witted, I mean like they move very slowly compared to humans. So the idea that like even in a battle suit, a Tau would actually be able to land a blow on a normal human combatant is, you know, it's actually quite difficult for them. That being said, it does massively boost their capabilities. So they're still getting, the likelihood is if they attack a person, they're still gonna like smash that guardsman. And the guardsman won't be able to do much to them. And then when you look at the stronger battle suits, like the... What about the characters? Yeah, they hit on 4s because like they're much more skilled, they're veterans. So they're easily going to wipe through guardsmen and stuff. And they're still going to hurt Space Marines. It's just they're going to have a hard time breaking through power armor. Hi, Lord Grandmaster, how you doing? I miss Fusion Blades. You can still use Fusion Blades. It's just basically give yourself a fusion gun and then you can use it in melee. And the heck, wait, what's my guy? Yeah, he's got Fusion Blades. In melee, that means he will get to shoot twice. Hits on 3s, -1 for being in melee. Hits on 4, strength 12, AP -4, damage D6, melt to 4. Don't forget, you as Tau, you can fire your battle suits of vehicles, meaning you can fire into combat. On top of this, you can probably just like mark the units and you still get your +1 to hit against it, which will counteract your -1 to hit for being in melee. Could it even get the pity of strength 6? Shaking my head. The strength 6 is reserved for broadside battle suits or strength 6. They're bigger, they're stronger. They can easily splatter guardsmen. Because they wound guardsmen 2s. And then you look at the next size up is the Ghost Keel, which is strength 6 as well. But it's damage 2 this time round. Broadside only damage 1. So they can so Ghost Keel can one-shot to Space Marine, assuming the armor does buckle. And then the Riptide suits have 6 attacks in melee instead of 3. And then the next size up is the... Is it the Supremacy armor? Oh no, it's a Storm Surge, which is 3 attacks at strength 8. And then you finally get some AP. Your weight is enough to actually start breaking your opponent's armor. Damage 2. And then the Supremacy suit is 6 attacks at the same profile. Hello, Talan! Happy Valentine's Day to you. A rose for you all. A rose for you all. Are you, what's his name, from Arvin's High School Host Club or something? I pray for a way to give crisis suits pistols and their weapons. Wait, why pistol on the weapons? Why do you want pistol on your weapons? Oh, is it so you don't get -1 to hit? I thought pistols still were at -1 to hit, or if they not. Oh no, I can't remember if they are or aren't. These guys have pistols. Pistol. Weapons of pistol for profile. It contains if they're eligible to shoot. It can only resolve attacks against the opponents it's in combat with. Oh yeah, I forgot monsters and vehicles can shoot pistols with their other weapons as well. Now I feel like the Tau should be at -1 to hit in melee. Like even if it's shooting into the melee. Because the entire point is the Tau struggle to hit so much in melee because their senses are so bad and they're so slow physically. Oh, wait, why is there a storm surge here? Yeah. My Valentine is a single roastery chicken. A roastery chicken! That sounds tasty. I like chicken. I had chicken today. It was just pre-cooked sandwich chicken that I threw into the air fryer with some chips. And then threw a bunch of cheese on top and then microwaved it for a little bit. Oh, there's some salt and vinegar as well. Tasty. Well, yeah, where we were up to? They had, But it's the Silver Templars who had killed by far the most, or the most by far. And they took a quiet pleasure knowing that they had killed more than their new allies, and no doubt helped them to victory that they would not have otherwise won. The Photon probably could have done it themselves. Afterwards, the Xeno creatures were as good as their word, and the Silver Templars did get their passage off planet. But you don't want to hear about that journey. Too much tedium. I mean, this journey was pretty tedious itself. Although I'll bet you'll find it interesting when I tell you where they ended up afterwards. Oh, oh my gosh, look how cool that wrist-mounted twin-linked bolt gun thing is. That's amazing. And giant thunder hammer. Yeah, big love hearts to everyone. I hope you're all having a good Valentine's. I mean, it's nice of you to spend your Valentine's here. Campaign, Eldarian Genestealers. To the proud Eldari, a Genestealer cult is like a hive of scuttling insects to be exterminated, but the zealous cultists are cunning and resilient foes who will not be cowed by the oppressor, whether human or alien. I tried to order food at 6 PM yesterday, but the food came at 9. Oh gosh. I was convinced they would cancel at 8:30, so I got up and started cooking, and they arrived when I finished cooking. Very big meal. I would have just put it in the fridge at that point and had it tomorrow. Yesterday I ate way too much because I ordered food as well. But because I was taking care of my cats, I ate really late. And I was like really hungry by that point. I was like, you know, normally I just like cut my Burger King in half. And just like have half tomorrow, half today, that sort of thing. And I just ate it all. I was like, oh, my tummy. I ate too much. I was thinking this is probably a bad idea. But I was like, no, I'm just so hungry. I'm going to eat it all. Bad idea. I've got to get to a point where I'm starting to get really full. I don't want to eat anymore. But then it's like over halfway and there's less than half left. I'm like, oh, but that's not going to be enough for tomorrow. Might as well just eat it all now. Biblical greed.
Biblical greed.
Yeah, I ate ate one meal to myself rather than having just half of it. Sorry, there's a lot of noises outside. I was just wondering what they were. A band of Eldari Rangers has disappeared in the system. Despite desperate to find the whereabouts of their kin, a larger force of Eldari have moved into the system. Why Eldar, not the Leagues of Photon? Although they are able to pick up some clues as to where their missing comrades have been, they begin to suspect the worst. But even if the Rangers have fallen in battle, it is still vital that they are found and their spirit stones are recovered. The Eldari think nothing of scouring the territory of others during the search, and their fervent activity is starting to attract unwanted attention. Yeah. You got that small stomach, Conjuror. It's not that small. It's like the burgers are like that big. And you're like, well, that's not that big. Reminder, my hands are massive because I'm tall. Like, that's a centimetre. This is about an inch. This is an inch wide. A burger's like that big. Like this big. Yeah. And then you got a big old pile of fries. But even if the Rangers have fallen, meanwhile, the secretive hosts of the Genestealer cults have long infiltrated the sparse populated planets of the system. It has taken generations working in clandestine fashion to reach this precipice. The time of subterfuge has passed. It is time to throw off the shackles of the Imperial oppressors and welcome the arrival of the Star Children. However, a violent uprising does not go unnoticed. Okay, we've already read that like 6 times. So yeah, it's just for 2. Finding themselves an increasingly crowded system for Eldari look with distaste at the rising Genestealer cult, who are rising on a nearby world. The time has come to demonstrate Eldar superiority. A small but forceful patrol is dispatched to make an impression and prove to the Genestealer cults that whatever conquests they amass in the system, the Eldari will never be among them. Yeah! Over here, Chaos Marines versus Genestealers. No point reading them, it's the same. Oh, scenarios! These are more fun to read. Rockets tear through the rockcrete. And bussing saw blades cut through the ranks of the Astra Militarum as her maniacal pilot of this death dread wreaks havoc upon the sector and the cultists of the Genestealer cults. I think it's geese outside. Now the cultists of the Genestealer cults recognize an existential threat. Geese! The existential threat is geese! Signature look of high elf. No, wait. Oh, no. Oh, wait. Cuptle, speak. Stop dancing and speak.
Signature look of high elf. No wait Eldar. No wait Eldari superiority.
Yeah. Count Dooku superiority. Saruman. Cults recognize an essential threat to their long gestating plans. Before the uprising can continue, they must face this new threat head-on and crush the interlopers. The arrival of an Orc war complicates matters of the war for all concerned, for they so often lack subtlety and are concerned only with bringing mayhem. For the cultists working to bury their tendrils deep into the roots of this imperial world, an Orcish incursion could spell doom for their plans. Specifically, the Imperium sanctions reinforcements. Dealing with the presence of the Space Marines and Orcs before the Star Children arrive may prove insurmountable. What the neophytes may lack in brute strength, however, is compensated tenfold with sheer numbers and fiery devotion to their cause. If their deaths would advance the grand design, and the fate spoken of by their mages, then so be it. It would be a worthy sacrifice. After all are one under the gaze of the Star Children. Yeah! That being said, I'm not sure Genestealer cults could have numerical superiority against an Orc war. Death Dread. Raw! Ridge Runners! Not Ridge Runners. Rock Grinders! 69! Nice! Is it fitting that we got this 69 magazine on Valentine's Day? Okay, big old sprue. Very big old sprue. Look, it's surprisingly simple to put together, though. Ah. Nice. Ooh! I forgot. Yeah, we still got a estimate of time to get in this. We got Command Squad next. Oh! We still not got our Alpha Jackals yet. Or our Jackals and our Alpha yet. Okay, how to put together your rock grinder. You know, like this, doesn't that kind of remind you of doing like a vehicle from, have you, if you've watched Batman, the animated series? Kind of looks like that to me. Looks like something you'd see in that. The faithful of the Star Children. Oh, it's Square holding a Space Marine helmet. That Space Marine helmet seems a bit small. Either that or he's huge. Could be both. Operatives swarm an objective before the oppressors can react. I kind of do like how the Genestealer cults very much resemble the really old art of doing all the really old Genestealer cults. But united by their cemetery, the Genestealer cults across the Imperium vary greatly from world to world. Like, we got a lot of that handcrafted aesthetic as well. Nobody knows how long the Genestealer cults have lurked amongst humanity's populations. All that can be said with certainty is that the Genestealer cults has now spread too far and wide across the Imperium to be measured, let alone contained. The cults that arise are as varied as the worlds they infest, except we've only got one type of models to represent them. What do you mean your Genestealer cults don't come from a mining planet? No, they come from a mining planet. Agricultural world Genestealer cults. Oh, Combine Harvester Genestealer cults. I got a brand new Combine Harvester. Guys, how do we convert a rock grinder into a Combine Harvester? I need to know. I just had the greatest idea in the world. Elves. Elves. Oh my gosh, there's a little chunk missing from the sprue here. Oh, there's nothing attached to that. Oh gosh. That's going to be. I'm getting myself another cola. And now I also want to figure out how. Like, I need to get like some scythes and stuff. Really make them look like an... I want to convert them now to look like for an agri world. Get some scythes, get some... Oh, what, like, instead of a mining laser, what would they have? What would an agri world use instead of a mining laser, but like would use a similar profile? Oh, maybe they'd still use a mining laser, you know, just to blast rocks away. And like make irrigation channels and stuff. The cults have a risk arise as varied as the words they infest. They blend their alien propensities, there we go, with the vision of their patriarch and the customs of their culture. The customs and culture of their host planet. So that each cult takes a new and monstrous form that is unique to them alone. In the heat of battle, the cults taunt their enemy trying to goad them forward into a devastating ambush that will see them enveloped in a wall of heavy weapons fire. Okay. Oh gosh. Orcs! You know, this book, this Genestealer lore is quickly turning into orc lore. There you go. Rusted Claw. Rusted Claw are tough survivalists and deadly fighters who congregate in the wasteland around imperial settlements. They are nomads, moving from place to place, so they're always near to a new population they can invest with the Genestealer curse. The Bladed Cog. The Bladed Cog took root on Feinminster Gamma. There they meld their Xenos genes of human bodies and cybernetic technology to create a unique fearsome force. They await the coming of a deity that they called the Clawed Omnisire, a dreadful male. That's cool. It'd be nice if you could see, like, a conversion to make them look more robotic. Hi, Clyde. How you doing? The Pauper Princess. Even though Genestealer cults, the Pauper Princess are frighteningly zealous. They believe in self-sacrifice and humility to the point of self-debasement and self-destruction. They are famous for their unthinking obedience and will happily throw their lives away to further their cause. I was hoping that would, like, do something about, you know, from something to do with their name rather than just being more zealous than others. Twisted Helix. The cult of the Twisted Helix are the volunteers who willingly introduce the Genestealer curse into their population through medical experimentation. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. They leverage the Imperium's limited understanding of medical technology to continue spreading the curse. I'm doing okay. I hope you're doing well too. A custom job. If there's one thing a cunning boss needs, it's a good selection of inventive contraptions to rain down death and destruction on the enemy. Luckily, mech boys are uniquely suited to the challenge. While they may not deal in things that are particularly accurate or reliable, deadly and destructive is usually right up their alley. Under a hail of artillery fire, War Boss Grignark stomped into the back of the camp with a mech's lift in their ramshackle haven. All about him was a pandemonium of metal, sheeting, gears, levers, and strange contraptions that intermittently went ping. What we got down here then? He shouted. I need them oomy guns, take it out! Art scuttled out of their workshop at his roar, and one of his senior mechs ran out to meet him. The mech gestured towards the nearest contraption, a deathcopter engine and blades, to which someone had secured lots of severed arms. Auto Grumper Boss! Grimnack shook his head. Ah! The mech seemed to recognize a connoisseur in Grimnark and tapped his nose, gesturing to the next contraption along. Got a proper custom job for you then, boss. Git launcher! Grimnark narrowed his eyes. Git launcher? Proper custom, repeated the mech. 2 smasher guns bolted together. Very fun. Hello, Casquakin. How you doing? Grimnark nodded uncertainly. Most mech contraptions were fun from a distance. On seeing the nod, the mech clambered onto a chair mounted on the Git launcher. Bring in the homies, he shouted as he fiddled with the contraption. The car was taken up as other orcs trickled out of the surroundings to watch. Get the homies. Hurry up. Get his head back on. The boss is waiting. Get his head back on. Oh no. Moments later, 2 and a bit guardsmen were dragged in a net over to the contraption. A raucous giggle spread amongst the... A giggle. I just now imagine them giggling like little girls. Like, tee. The net was quickly grabbed and shoved into a bowl suspended between the 2 smasher guns. Pull the lever, boss, shouted the mech to Grimnark. The huge boss orc looked forward and saw the lever positively humming with energy. Grimnark's iron fist gripped the lever and yanked it downwards. For a second nothing happened, then just as the
lads go
assembly...
tee-hee-hee.
The lads go tee-hee-hee. Yeah. Da-da-da started to think it was broken, the machine shuddered. It was the merest suggestion of a gloop noise, and a colossal crash, an explosion, and the chair that the mech was in flung itself up, propelling the screaming arc into the far distance, as one of the remaining arcs shaded their eyes from the sun and followed his trajectory straight towards the lines of the Astra Militarum, and a cheer went up as he landed right on target. He forgot which part was the furry part. Ah, silly. Pull the lever, boss. Wrong lever. Here, mech boy, asked Grimnark, turning to one of the remaining junior mechs. What are the Yumis for, then? The mech trembled with fright and fell silent. Grimnark surveyed the machine with interest. His eyes followed the complicated tangle of wires and levers as he tried to work it out. "Get more counterweights." "Count to what knots?" he announced after a long pause, pointing at the guardsman. "Yeah, sure. Count to what knots?" echoed the other orcs, nodding knowingly. It wasn't wise to disagree with the boss. The junior mech visibly relaxed. He giggled nervously. The dog's going tee-hee. He giggled nervously and looked at Grimnark, who gave him an evil toothy grin and started to laugh along with him. "Very good," announced Grimnark, slapping the relieved mech of the back so hard that he sank to his knees with a sickening crunch. "You done well." "No, get in the chair. I want to take another shot." "Oh no! The poor mech!" A horde of beast snaggers charged straight at the Tyrannid unprotected. Could you imagine being a human in that situation, and your life is now spared, and the orcs are like taking care of you because they think you're an important part of a machine? God Emperor bless those crazy boot orcs. Yeah, God Emperor bless them. The old ways. Yeah. I mean, these guys aren't very old way off. They got guns and stuff and explosives. They're not proper feral orcs. Feral orcs is just taking old world orcs, putting them on round bases and then going, yeah, that's it. And Age of Sigmar orcs or Ovox. Some orcs will consider utilising any item or approach that keeps them alive and scrapping the longest, but others look down on anything more complicated than a sharp chopper and a blood-curdling scream. These traditionalists prefer to follow the fabled old ways of days gone past, and they are none the less deadly for it. Among the most conservative orcs, an idea has emerged that the youth of today are too spoiled with their flashy technology and reliance on tactics. Tic-tacs! They yearn for a return to simply times and traditions that they call the old ways. However, orcs being orcs, they don't always agree on exactly what counts as the old ways. In fact, members of a particular tribe or clan claim that they follow the old ways, and anything that they do is likely to be justified as being proper orky, whereas anything else is likely to be castigated as being for wimps. Thus, where one tribe might take great pleasure in riding giant beasts to battle, believing this to be the traditional orcish behaviour, another tribe might instead decide that this is newfangled nonsense, and that takes away from the proper business of personally caving the enemy's skull in with a giant chopper. Nonetheless, a rough consensus has emerged that the old ways are based around a simple brutality, the merits of being dead hard, and a general mistrust of technology, except when it happens to suit them, of course. I like that thing. There's a class of ship for arcs if a boss wanted to fire 2 different types of weapons on pain of losing both arms or failure. The mech who made it half managed it, so when he lost 1 arm. And for Armor class battle cruiser, its prow gun away battery can fire torps or bombardment cannons. Wait, it can fire bombardment cannons at you? Like it just throws the cannons? Or do you mean it actually has bombardment cannons that shoot you? Can't the mech just make himself a new arm? Yeah. I mean, he can't make himself 2 new arms if he's got no arms. Beast snaggers. I don't know why suddenly we're learning about the beast snaggers in the middle of the Genestealer stuff, but honestly, I'm fine with it. A file of furious Squighog boys bursting for arc lines, heading for the foe. I kind of want to make some feral arcs, you know, using things like the Gargunters instead of Squighogs. And, you know, other Age of Sigmar and Old World models instead of 40k models. Like, these guys have guns. They shouldn't have guns. They should have bows and arrows. What could be more archy than trapping and enslaving giant ravenous beasts and then riding them into battle? Interning! Interning! You don't save that word. You intern them. Nothing according to the staunch traditionalists who do exactly that. These great preservers of Arkish culture are just as warlike as the rest of Arcdom, and while they certainly enjoy the hunting and trapping of giant beasts for the sake of it, it is no coincidence that they often hunt squigs, which give excellent service on the battlefield. Of course, purists would point out that the squigs also make for great entertainment and can come in handy as a delicious post-fight snack. The beast snaggers, as these arcs are named, are very keen on taking trophies from their quarry, but more than a few have trophies taken from them instead. It's a very young or very lucky beast snagger who hasn't lost a limb or 2 in the hunt, and their ranks are full of warriors sporting shiny bionic limbs and other implanted devices. Yeah, because they're silly orcs. They're not traditionalists. Not like the good... Oh, what are they called? What are the original traditionalist orcs? Before the beast snaggers came along. And they didn't even like shooters and bionics and stuff. Get it? Last one to catch us is a wimp. Last one to catch up is a wimp, sorry. Death Corpse. Mosvag Skragbad. Famed as the Monster Eater, Mosvag Skragbad is arguably one of the toughest and fightiest orcs alive. Mounted on his famously untamable squig named Big Chomper, Mosvag is one of the great terrors of the universe all by himself. Few who get in his way survive the onslaught of his many bionic weapons, and those who are mauled by a squig instead. Those who do are mauled by a squig instead. Yeah, he I think is the closest thing that the orcs have like to a Primarch level model. In terms of like just all his stats. I think more so than even Gaskell Thacker. Tough enough to withstand the rigours of mining, the Rock Grinder is a potent and devastating if somewhat improvised assault vehicle, capable of shielding its crew from weapons fire, as surely as from rock throws. It's ideal for getting into the heart of the action and crushing foes under its drill dozer blades. Yeah, how do we turn this into a combine harvester? Give me ideas. Genestealer cults versus orcs. Yeah, for fighting against the orcs. Just before. Genestealer cults versus Photon. And then next magazine. Make it able to harvest carbine? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. Wheels! It's really good for this. Ooh, there's actually like a few character models in here. That's cool. Ooh, so next time we're getting Uriel Yellow. Oh, we have Uriel Yellow. And we're getting White Scar White. Oh, I don't have that colour. And we're getting these guys. Command Squad. We have a bunch of guardsmen still to make. Oh gosh, it's another one of these ones where the pages don't want to stay on. So how to paint. Oh, it wants us to paint our rock grinder before finishing putting it together. Okay, that's interesting. Work in progress. That does not look like a work in progress. That looks like a finished deal.
Easy. To make a Goliath harvester you just need to get one of the fiated bloat drones. The melee weapon is a combined front.
And you can use a bloat drone in Chaos Space Marines. If you use a greater bloat drone datasheet, same base size, same model size, same weapons. You need like 3 of them though to replace the 3 different blades on this. Oh darn it, I knew I should have got that Death Guard to battle fast. Because that came with 3 drones. Okay, the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor. Founded by the Trias dynasty of the Gosar Quintus, the Cult of the Four-Armed Emperor has since grown to become a terrifying hidden enemy that has spread across half the galaxy. The cult has tendrils of shadowy influence buried deep into many imperial worlds, and remains an ever-present existential threat to humanity. Mutated cultists of a Four-Armed Emperor rise up to overthrow their oppressors. Oppressors, not impressors. The cult of a Four-Armed Emperor is perhaps one of the most insidious hidden threats that humanity and the galaxy has ever faced. In a galaxy constantly at war, they cunningly exploit the Imperium's desperate need for labour to support its war machine. They position their clandestine cultists as indispensable industrial workers, allowing them to spread all across Imperial space. The ranks of the cult of a Four-Armed Emperor live and work for generations under the nose of Imperial authorities, posing as expert miners and subterranean explorers. As a result, the Imperium are often left unaware of the fatal threat swelling beneath their feet over decades. The unforgiving, grueling work that their cult members undertake allows them to thrive and adapt to their dark environs over generations, giving the cultists a honed killing edge when an uprising truly begins. So these are poster boys of the cult of the what's it called then? The Genestealer cults. They're the equivalent to the Space Marines, Ultramarines, the Black Legion, the Acadians of their respective factions. Oh gosh. There we go. Expert Underminers. The Underminer! From The Incredibles. Yeah, Four-Armed is the default setting. Yeah. Expert Underminers. When it's time for cultists to declare themselves and wage war, open war, sorry, the forces of their oppressors find one secure caches, missing weapons and ammunition, vehicles stolen or immobilized, and checkpoints sabotaged, overrun or rigged to blow. After all, cult leaders have After all, the cult leaders have often had years before their uprising begins to gain access to restricted building schematics and intricate understanding of the Imperium mining networks, as well as power and influence within local governments. More often than not, a Genestealer cult has won the war long before open hostilities ever take place. Oh my gosh, that would actually be an incredibly fun story, you know, of a Genestealer cult. One that deal with the planning and stuff went into play, except all of the passwords have been changed. All of the locks have been changed. Like someone was just one step ahead of them. And it's potentially if they find out that, like, there are, like, who is this mastermind who's one step ahead of us? Who knew this? And then you find out there was no mastermind. It's just literally the world was like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't just keep the same password for days, for years at a time. Maybe we should change it every few years or something. And they just like got defeated by the Imperium actually displaying, or like this one world actually displaying a level of competence at like, you know, cyber and just standard security. Oh gosh. You go to sabotage a vehicle, it's like, I've got to pour a bunch of stuff into its fuel. Wait, why has the vehicle got no fuel in it? It's like, yeah, we took the fuel out. Because, you know, we shouldn't really leave a tank with a full fuel tank just sitting around, or we're not expecting to be attacked anytime soon. Like, we'll blow these fuel canisters. Wait, where's the fuel canisters? Why are these water canisters? For fuel here before. Like, yeah, we just move stuff around, you know? Oh, that would be hilarious. Maybe it wouldn't be a good story. It'd be a good short story. Because isn't that one of the reasons why they like struggle with like the tower and the photon and stuff? Like going into their ranks, because, you know, they've actually got a lot more competence in terms of like governing the people. And their basic security and stuff like that. Well, the cultist rebellion upon the world of Gozar Quintus was discovered and quelled by Captain Arton Cassius and his Death Watch kill team. The victory itself was a hollow one. The ruling Trias dynasty had long been corrupted, and the world was a hive of Xenos activity. Shipping holographs extracted from Garsus Quintus showed that the cult had splintered many times over and spread across the galaxy under the guise of legitimate mining operations at the behest of an unknowing departmental munitorium? Latin words! By the time the kill team Cassius had discovered the damning truth, it was too late. Oh look! Ultramarine, who looks very chaotic there. If it wasn't for the ultramarine symbol there, that just looks like a red corsair to me. But apparently, ultramarine. Arton Cassius led a daring assault upon the infested world of Gozar Optimus. This must have been before Primaris, I'm guessing, based on the armor.
It's easier to spread Inhumans. The religious fervor of the Imperium is easily twisted to both the favor of chaos and the Star Children.
Yeah. I mean, with the Tau, that they do can turn for things like the fervor for the greater good to their way. And the, with the Photon, you know, the worship, but basically of the Photon cause can also be switched over. The main thing is like the Tau have breeding programs. They don't just have like normal relationships, they have breeding programs. So a change of a population is very weird and very easy to catch. The other thing is they actually have proper security. They have security cameras. They got drones checking over stuff. They update their password and knocks quite commonly. They check over all of their buildings quite commonly. And they also, like, if somebody goes missing, it gets reported within the day. It doesn't get reported like 10 years later that somebody's gone missing. And if somebody does go missing, never mind who they are, you know, someone's going to investigate it. And the same goes for like the Photon, the Eldor, and everybody else. Humans have the issue of someone goes missing, no one cares. Someone does report it, no one investigates it. If something actually does start getting investigated, it can be years later by the time they get investigated. They don't update logs, they don't have an understanding of their own medicine and stuff like that. Latin words, yeah. The team leaders and Ultramarine chaplain, yeah. Oh, chaplain, yeah, I can see that. I recognise it as a leader based on this. Just didn't, and in fact for Ultramarine, just didn't recognise it for chaplain. Oh, that must be for chaplain weapon. I thought it's going to be a Thunderhammer or something. Gozar Quintus was the first world where confirmed Imperial engagement within Genestealer cults took place. Okay, so this must have occurred ages ago. Oh no, never mind, 680-41. There was a strange use of the parts of the Inquisitor Chagrin in 680 Millennium 41 that brought the Delver world under the unforgiving gaze of the Ardiosinos. Sorry. Chest pain. First, a series of missives were received from Chagrin reporting heretical behaviour. Praise of a so-called four-armed emperor scrawled on walls of the facility and overseers chanting strange mantras. These were followed by final communique that claimed all previous reports of Xeno's activity were anomalous and no further investigation should take place. The matter fell to the Death Watch and ultimately, after Kill Team Exus two were lost investigating the Gosar anomaly, Chaplain Arton Cassius but Xeno's infestation had burrowed to the very heart of Gosar Quintus. The matter fell to the Death Watch and ultimately Chaplain Arton Cassius. The Xeno's infestation had burrowed to the heart of the Gosar Quintus, and while Cassius and his battle brothers successfully expunged the alien threat and the Patriarch at its head, the damage was already done, in numbers uncounted, and the cult of the four-armed emperor had already spread across the galaxy. Cassius swore an oath to uphold, swore an oath to destroy the hated aliens. Yeah! The Hand of a Magus. There we go. Skill Team Cassius is a wonky unit. Yeah, I think I've heard of it. Do they actually have like legend rules or something? Genestealers can't convert Tau because of good accounting. They immediately investigate if something gets missing. Yeah, it's not always the case. There have been incidents of the Tau getting infested. Two of them, the Tau did it to themselves, trying to do some sort of diplomacy and researching for cults. But it is possible for the Tau to get infected. It's also possible for the likes of Recruit and others to get infested, do you know, their auxiliaries. Partly because the auxiliaries generally have, the Tau don't rule over them as tight-grippedly as they do with the others. Like, no one's immune to a Genestealer cult infestation. It's just like humans of the Imperium are typically quite likely to get infected. And that's not like every human world's likely to get infested. There are definitely Imperial worlds, like Mechanicus run worlds, that are so well, like, every single thing on the world is effective. Like, if something happens here, it's because the Mechanicus wanted it to happen, and if something happens that the Mechanicus didn't want to happen on this world, they know. There's definitely worlds like that the Genestealer cults would have a very hard time infesting. And then you've got like other worlds where they're more like, they're just better, nicer worlds, like Earth Today kind of worlds. And the Genestealer cults would have a harder time there because they actually have like rather effective law enforcement. They have if someone goes
It has
missing.
the titular chaplain Cassius, 8 other Death Watch veterans, one of which is a jump pack I'm pretty sure, 1 Terminator and 1 bike.
That is a very wonky kill team. Don't the Tower of Gene Scanners? I think they might do. I don't know how often they'll use them, but that, I mean, a Gene Stealer cult isn't necessarily going to, you know, be caught by it. Either because they'll avoid the Gene Scanners, or they'll just find a way to trick the Gene Scanners. I mean, it's not beyond them whether they evolve a way to trick them or just make a way to trick them. I mean, it's very well that they could infect the Tau that's meant to man them and maintain them, so... It's very possible. It's just very unlikely that others will get caught out. Like, eventually a Genestealer cult is probably going to be caught by the Tau or the Orcs before it gets too big. And it's likely to be crushed at that point once it is caught. And similarly, there's been multiple failed Genestealer cults in Imperial worlds, even ones that are in a much worse position. The Curse of Unreason. The Space Hulk Curse of Unreason phase into real space close to it. I mean, this is another reason. You could just literally have a Tau ship get infected by the Genestealer cult. Or even an entire Tau fleet get infected, or similarly like an Orc fleet or whatever. And the infestation hits just so hard so quickly because of like some Space Hulk or something like that, that we don't really stand a chance to stop it in the first place. And that's actually how a lot of the Genestealer cults originally start out. But anyway, the Space Hulk Curse of Unreason phase into real space close to the Bossin system. While bombarded by Imperial forces in an abundance of caution, debris from the vessel fell to Gorsar Quintus. There's little doubt that the vessel harboured Xenos life forms. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing about it. It's like, while the Imperium is easy to infect, the Imperium generally has a much more no-nonsense approach. Like, if they detect even the slightest idea of Xenos heresy, there's a good chance that they're going to go guns blazing to exterminate it, and they're going to take no chances. Other factions are less likely to do the same thing. And as a result, there is a chance that the infection, you know, can continue to go rampant because, you know, they just didn't go as gung-ho and guns blazing as they should have done. But generally, being able to prevent it ever coming into play in the first place is much more effective than eliminating it after the case. Like, prevention is better than a cure, and that's what most other factions do, a lot better than the Imperium. Wasn't that at some point to Warhammer 40k history, they had a Genestealer cult work hybrids? I have no idea. There used to be Genestealer cults before the Tyranids were actually a thing in 40k. And the Genestealer cults were very different. I mean, they're very similar to what they are now, but they weren't related to Tyranids because Tyranids haven't been invented yet. Mysterious disappearances. The final missive sent to Chagrin and his subsequent disappearance led to the involvement of the Death Watch. Chaplain Cassius dispatched the 5 Battle Brothers of Kill Team Exas to Gozar Quintus to investigate. When contact with the team abruptly ceased, they were presumed lost. Death Watch investigation. The Great Pit of the heart of the world was a host to an endless swarm of multi-limbed horrors that ambushed the warriors of the Death Watch at every turn. Fighting through wave after wave of alien creatures, Cassius himself slew the Great Patriarch of Gosar Quintus. A terrifying legacy. While Kill Team Cassius successfully expunged Gosar Quintus of Xenos infestation, the cult of a four-armed emperor had already spread across the Imperium. Cassius recognized this to be the beginning of a new war, one that may determine the fate of humanity. The hand of a Magus! Powering up from Nyko Consortium under the minds of Lasmar 3, this twisted horde of Genestealer cultists seek to throw off the chains of the Imperial oppressors. They are led by the cunning Magus who has forged a ragtag collective of mutants, monsters, and stolen mining equipment to a powerful army of rebellion. The Magus warriors are frantically loyal and would follow her even unto their own destruction. Given their likely eventual fate, this may be fortunate. So that's how the kill team, it's not a kill team, combat patrol is meant to be armed. Acolyte hybrids, Arbrants, Goliath, Rock Grinder, Neophyte hybrids, Magus. Oh, that's what it looks like. Oh, a scenario. To play grind all opposition, set up your battlefield as shown. Okay, never mind. I was hoping it would give us like a little bit of lore. A little bit of a story to go with it. Well, that's it. Next time we're getting this, and I imagine maybe some Imperial Guardsmen. Just normal infantry. And let's look at the Warhammer website. Pre-order now. Yeah, you can get this. I think this is still available. Yeah. 50 quid, it's pretty expensive books. So, set of books, mind you. Oh. Super cool stuff. And by the way, if you don't get these books, don't forget you've got the new stuff is here. A lot of the new things in there, the new data sheets and the new detachments. Well, this one, the collector's edition's already sold out, unfortunately. Managed to get my hands on one because...
I think the best GSC detachment is the Pauper Princes one, the Xenocreed Congregation. GSC is very character-dense army. Give them a FNP.
Give them feel no pain. Give them feel no pain. What detachment did I go for my Genestealer cults? Here we go. I got 2 Magus, a Patriarch, a Primarch, 5 Atlan Jackals. Oh, maybe I don't get an Alpha in this kit. I think maybe it might just be 5 Atlan Jackals. Goliath Rock Grinder. But what did I go for? Xenocreed Congregation. Oh, that is the one I went for. Yeah! What does it do? Unquestioning fanaticism. For each acolyte hybrid. Blah, 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 blah. Metaphor Neophyte hybrid. Unit for your army. While one or more character models are leading that unit, you can reroll advance and charge rolls for it. If that character model is a Magus Primus or Acolyte Icon Ward, this model has Feel playing 3+. Ooh, while leading that unit. Okay, I can see why I went for that. What units can you join, if any? Pure Strange Genestealers. Yeah, I have a squad of Pure Strange Genestealers where to join. Yeah. And then, I guess, a Magus in each of these. And then, like, a Primus in charge of the hybrid metaphors. Yeah, that seems like a pretty good thing. But yeah, you got these guys. I'm not a big fan of that model of this one. That's a cool model though. This thing, and for 160 quid, for not 155 like I expected, for 160. Which I have no idea if it's going to be worth it. It feels really It feels really weird that this, like, how many models in this kit? You got 20, 30, 35, 36 models in this kit. You've got 23 in this kit. I know one is a vehicle, but it's a very small vehicle. It's 23 models and it's the same price as this Battle Force. And they're out of much smaller models than Space Marines. And it doesn't look like it looks like they are missing like some of the sprue, do you know, from the kill team. Oh. And you got them. Oh yeah, the knitted blanket. I forgot about that. Oh, it's temporary out to stop. You can have a knitted blanket for that's just a map of the Imperium. Yeah. Keep you nice and cozy. That sounds like a good old Christmas present. New book stuff. Super cool. But tomorrow we're going to try and build our rock grinder. And if we've got time after building it, we'll try to build for neophyte. It feels weird that these new jump back units are combo units. I would have preferred them to be jump melee only. Yeah, I would have preferred if they had blast pistols rather than blaster and, you know, like flame pistols. Or Weber pistols instead of Weber weapons. Because it does make it a lot harder trying to find an actual use for them. Like the leader of the unit can have a blast pistol. But yeah, it's a bit like Raptors though. Where I think the point is you deep strike them next to like an enemy or something, like an enemy vehicle. Or do like a very specific thing that they're meant to tear to pieces. And it's like you either give them melter guns to try and blow up like a vehicle or monster that they land next to, or you give them flamers to take apart an infantry unit, and then you charge them in. What's your favourite faction? I don't really have one. I like all of the factions. I am building 40,000 points of Black Templar, so I feel like I have to say that one. I really love the Eldar Corsairs. Really like my Cryptek, Canoptek Necrons. I really love my Orcs, especially my Goblins. What else is there? Really like my Tyranids. Like, they were the first army I ever started with, so Tyranids do have a special place in my heart. And Chaos is fun. Like I really like Night Lords and like all of the Mono God stuff. Except maybe World Eaters. I'm not a big fan of them. Oh, yeah. We also... Oh, the way these saw blades are, we could probably separate them more to make them feel more like Combine Harvestery stuff. Ooh. Yeah. I'm thinking if I can get like make some sort of tube thing that connects them all together. In theory, could go across the front of this. I might need some plastic. I think I do have some plastic art to like go over the front. I'm gonna have to look into this more. It would be fun to try and turn this into Combine Harvester. I wish you had the key chain charm and other merchandise. Why do you wish I had that? I think an important army is important, else you get tempted to build every other army every other month. Next thing you know, you're in debt and homeless. Don't call me out like that. Considering that I Do you want to know what I bought on impulse? Because, you know, the new stealth suits will look really, really cool. Yeah. Yeah, the new stealth suits look really, really cool. But, you know, they need a friend, right? So... obviously, you have to get a ghost skill to be a friend for them. And, you know, but in fact, that's not really an army. They need more friends than that. So obviously, you have this with the combat patrol over here. But then you just got a commander and he's got no unit to join. So then you have to get these guys, don't you? So we can have a unit to join, and then you're like. But now the breachers don't have anybody. Like, you got some breachers. And he's got his own unit. The stealth suits have their own ghost kill friend. They need a friend. So you get them. Oh gosh. I feel like I'm watching a person drown while I die off first. I mean, it's fine. I can take out another mortgage. I can take out a few more loans. Oh gosh. Look, I have poor impulse control. I have poor impulse control. It's fine. It's fine. I can still stream. I can still stream on homeless. It's fine. I can stream from the bank's home. Oh, goodness. But you know, it's not like I've decided. It's not like I just decided to, you know, just randomly get some mechanical stuff or anything, and it's just been sat there for ages doing nothing. Oh gosh. Imagine homeless Cupcake streaming behind a fast food joint stealing Wi-Fi. With a cart full of plastic. Look, as long as I got my cart full of plastic and enough cola to keep me happy. You don't realise, everyone thinks I've got a house, but really I just took all my Warhammer boxes and put them in a car in the park. And, you know, I ended up accidentally building a mansion from them. I just got such a big pile of shame. I can literally live inside my pile of shame. It's fine. Somehow a central heating and everything. Thoughts on Legos. We have just built the Lego Krusty Krab. Not Krusty Krab, Krusty Burger. The Simpsons Krusty Burger. We did just build that on like last week. Actually, this week we finished it. It was 4 streams in a row of a Krusty Burger. And it was... that's where I actually have the least impulse control, because I'm like, I don't really need Lego for anything. Lego is ridiculously expensive. But I need it! I need it! I like my Simpsons. I like my cheesy burgers. I like my cola. It has all of it. I found a Lego Ultramarine ship. A Lego Ultramarine ship. Not official though. There we go. This is all of my monies. I'll pay you 3 bases to go away. I'm joking. Like, what's that thing? I'll give you $100 to go, and that's like how Batman can beat some enemies. Like, do you know One Punch Man? I'll give you $100 to go away. Oh gosh. Okay, we got 2 big 32 millimeters. A bunch of, what are these? 25 millimeters. And a big old 50 millimeter base right here. It's a little known fact that there's 2 of these go into one of these. If this is equivalent to a 5p coin, this is equivalent to a 10p coin. This is equivalent to like a £1 coin. Oh, amazing. Wow. Wow. What's this one? 2022. That's it. I thought this would be a much type of older base. Well, how old are these bases? When were these first designed? 2013. Okay, what about the 25 millimeters? I know everything we used to be on 25 millimeters. 2021 though is when this base was designed. Ah. Interesting. But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff to build. We got too much to build. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. So tomorrow we got another stream. We're gonna be building for stuff. For next week, I don't know what I'm doing next week. I'm thinking back to just lots of hand cams next week. Like, I've got a lot to paint. I've got a lot to do. So we'll probably do a lot of hand cams next week. Well, anyway, if you'd not like to stream already, then please like it because it does help me out, you know? I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day or whatever. Work hard, but play harder. Take care of yourself and be kind to others and vice versa. Remember to eat good food, sleep well, eat more cupcakes, but don't eat the cupcakes because they're friends, not food. Yeah. Bye-bye, everyone. Love you all. Yeah. Wait, we're going. There you go. And we are.